right, you ready, Barry?
Ready.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and call the Orangevale Recreation Park District Board of Directors meeting for Thursday, January 13th. We're going to call it 6:31. It'll be a Zoom meeting for most people. The Board of Directors may take up any agenda item at any time regardless for listed action may be taken on any item on the agenda. Roll call?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, Swenson is present, Stickney,
Present.
Mraz,
Right now, absent.
okay, Brunberg,
I'm here.
Montez,
Here.
all right, and then Barry Ross,
Here.
Jennifer Von Ash,
Not present.
she's not present, okay. Horacio Oropeza,
Present.
Jason Bain,
Here.
and Melissa Woodford,
Present.
and Nadia Kokar.
Here.
All right.
If it's okay with everybody, we'll not do the Pledge of Allegiance this time. Is that okay with everybody?
Sounds good.
All right. Can I get approval of the agenda as written?
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it's 4-0, one absent. With public discussion, any person may address the board upon any subject within the jurisdiction of the Orangevale Recreation and Park District, with each speaker being limited to 3 minutes. However, the chairperson can impose reasonable limitations to the maximum time per person and per agenda item to allow the board to complete its business. Any matter that requires action would be referred to staff or committee for report and action at a subsequent meeting. Okay, we're gonna,
Mike, can I say something?
sure.
If there's anybody that's joining us as a guest tonight, if you're here about a topic other than the Arcade Cripple Creek Trail, now would be a good time for you to be recognized and have your 3 minutes. If it's something that is not on the agenda or not related to the Arcade Cripple Creek Trail. If so, please raise your hand or put something in the chat box.
Okay, and I'm assuming nobody, Nadia's,
Not quite yet.
all right, you let me know when.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll move along. We're going to take things out of a little bit of order. We're going to go to 12A, 12, 13A, B, and then G, and then we'll go back to the regular agenda. Oh. There's Manny has arrived, almost tripping and hurting himself, but he didn't, so that's a good thing. So we're going to take them out. Like I said, we're going to take 12, 13A, B, G, and then go back to the regular agenda.
Correct.
Okay, so the first one is item 12, which is unfinished business, Arden Cripple Creek Trail Project.
Right, so the Arden Cripple Creek Trail Project is now open for discussion. And before we get into that, we're going to go over some etiquette and ground rules, and Nadia's going to present those.
We have some helpful reminders to keep the meeting on track while on Zoom. Number one, we ask that you please remain muted until it is your turn to speak. We want those speaking to do so without distraction or interruption. Number two, if you'd like to submit a question or a comment without speaking, please enter it into the chat box along with your name, first and last, and we'll read it during the segment. Number three, if you would like to voice your comments or questions, please type your name in the chat box followed by the word speak. Number four, we will take all written questions and requests to speak in the order they're received. We will first address those attending on Zoom, then those on YouTube, and then those on Facebook. If a question has already been asked and or answered, we'll read it for the record and then proceed to the next one. Number six, the agenda for this Board of Directors meeting is lengthy. We ask that your comments and questions be succinct. And 7, please keep your comments appropriate for the public meeting. Profanity, personal attacks, or inappropriate questions or comments will not be accepted or tolerated.
And we're going to be a little flexible as far as the time per person, you know. Try to keep it to 3 minutes, but we'll try to be a little more liberal in that.
Great, great.
All right, so.
So
do you-
while they're entering their names into the chat, or comments into the chat,
Do you want to say anything about the project?
yeah, I want to give an update on what I
Okay.
know. So I'd like to first start with an update as far as the timeline that's been presented to us from the city of Citrus Heights for the trail project. As you know, on December 6th is when the final draft plans were posted on their website, and that's when the public was able to begin submitting comments or questions. On January 4th, that item was removed from their website. That was the last day for the public to have an opportunity to submit their questions and comments. Moving ahead, the last day of this month, on the 31st, the city is going to incorporate recommended comments and post responses to all comments received on their city website. So that's when we'll be able to see their responses. At the end of February, they expect to have their final plans complete. Mid-March, around the 16th of March, their goal is to have the California Transportation Commission approval of construction funds. So that's when the funds are going to become released for the project. Then on April 1st, they're going to be sending out a call for bids. Around May 1st, they'll be opening the bids. Around May 26th, the City of Citrus Heights City Council will award construction contract. And then mid-June, they have June 15th as their target date to issue notice to proceed on the project. And that's what I have at this point for an update.
I want to make a few brief comments as far as and I will speak for the district in this case. Approximately 22 years ago, when Sharon's, I guess, she brought her son at 6 months to urge us to be proactive as far as trails. Me and Manny.
It's now going to be 24.
24 years, okay, I stand corrected. I knew you would correct me if I was mistaken.
He was in the stroller, so he might have been 12 to 18 months.
Whatever,
I don't know. So, yes,
so this
20 years ago.
This project has been going on for 24 years, and at the last vote, it was 5-0 from the board's perspective to go along with this.
And that's the alignment we had in our Orangevale Park District master plan, was to connect
Right.
all the way through that direction.
We-
We haven't gone past Watch Tell, but that's another segment that's to be.
Right, so this is the first step, so the board is for this project, there's been some comments made by the public, which we've looked into, and I think we've resolved them to the best that we can. And so at this time, is anybody wishing to speak about this project?
I don't have any comments in Zoom,
No comments on Zoom yet?
and I don't have anything in
I
YouTube.
see one in the chat box.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
I think
it's
that's
me.
Nadia's.
Oh, okay.
It was me.
Chat box. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there anybody out there, any of our guests that wish to speak tonight? I see Mr. DiGiacomo's hand raised. Is there anybody else that wants to speak on this topic? So I would say, since nobody's in the chat box, we can go ahead and.
Oh, and Peg Pinard, just.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Peg Pinard is in there as well. Tom, we're ready for your comments.
Okay, welcome everyone, and thanks for having me on. So, as you know, I actually am the president of the Windmere Oaks Neighborhood Watch, and I do represent the neighborhood, so it's just not me speaking tonight. It's pretty much what I've heard through the last couple of years from the neighbors and what we are basically wanting to see happen. And comments were given to the Citrus Heights on many occasions. We had some of you out at the park on occasions at the bridge, and we kind of went over things there. And there's two sides of this coin that is, I feel, part of what we need to discuss. One of them is the safety side of things, and this is where I think I come into play. And then you've got the environmental with the trees and the bridge and all that, and Peg's a good resource for that. So when I get done, I'm sure Peg will go ahead and input her findings. But one of the things that baffles me the most is the fact that they're saying that the trail ends at the Highwood and the entrance to Sundance Park, and then go ahead and re-begins back up at the 7-Eleven by Drywood, the corridor over there. So they're calling Highwood and Woodmere Oaks Drive. They're calling those a connecting route. And I am baffled by that. I mean, to me, this is part of the trail, and this should be treated part of the trail. And I know that's not your jurisdiction. I've been on County Supervisor Sue Force with that, and I just talked with her today, and I know we're going to get into that a little more further because they're putting it on Sue and the county as far as the lighting of Woodmere Oaks and the lighting of Woodmere Oaks and Highwood as far as the safety issues go. So that is not really your jurisdiction. My concern with you with the parks, and like I said, Peg will get into the bridge. My concern mainly is the Fair Oaks corridor coming over Fair Oaks Boulevard, coming into the park as far as what they're trying to propose on their trail. Now, when we looked at those trail draft plans, nothing defined where that entrance was coming in on your side at Sundance Park. I had to go sit down with them on December 22nd over there in the planning department and get an answer from them, which basically was not what I really wanted to hear. But what I heard basically is they want to bring this trail on the, I don't know how you want to say it, where the tennis courts are when you're looking at Temple Park, to the right side of the tennis courts. And if they want to bring the trail across the street from there, which basically brings it right to where the bridge and the homeless encampment is on your side on Sundance Park. We have pictures I wanted to share real quick. This is the bridge I'm talking about, which is at Fair Oaks and Sundance itself. This is another picture of the bridge and the homeless encampment. Now, I don't understand, and I know Mike, you were out there. We talked about the existing entrance as it is and why they can't use that. I'm still very concerned about why they cannot use that. They are coming up with some crazy answers as far as it makes no sense. They want to move this trail, and I just happen to notice that where they want to put that trail, their rail or so is down in that spot right by this bridge right now. And they want to bring that trail right next to this, which is to me very unsafe. It's going to propose a lot of other issues, and I'm very, very much concerned about that. Number two, just yesterday, I sat out there yesterday for a few hours. This is what happened just yesterday. We have kids on motorbikes. There's one coming out of the park, and there's another one coming out of the park. This was going on yesterday, and this is an ongoing thing going on inside that park. I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but that's, to me, a concern because you got those guys going through there, and they're tearing up the park as it is right now. But that's something we need to get concerned about if we're going to be putting in a nice, beautiful trail in there. I was,
Tom, I'm sorry, excuse me. Is that Tempo or was that Sundance? I'm
this
sorry.
is Sundance Park. This is right by my house. This is right across the street from my house.
Okay, thank
This
you.
is
That gives me
Highwood
an
Way-
idea.
Highwood Way and Sundance Park, right there. I caught him coming down the street, and I caught him coming in and out of the park just because I wanted to. And I actually stopped him, and I told him, I said, have you guys read the sign? What sign? That sign right there, did you read it? No. Well, it says right down there, no motorbikes. He goes, well, you don't have to be taking pictures of us. Well, excuse me, but you could read the sign. But no, this is what we're up against. Number two, you know, I know this isn't your jurisdiction, but concerning Highwood itself, we have so much going on that street as far as traffic goes. This is one thing that happens on a daily basis. We have a school bus that comes down that street, and they're saying this is not part of the trail. That makes no sense to me. When a school bus goes down there, what are they gonna do? That they plan on turning around at that entrance of Highwood and going some other direction and then meeting up somewhere by the 7-Eleven where it starts up again? That to me makes no sense. This happened just yesterday too. Amazon truck parked on the S turn on Highwood, and they're parked on the wrong side of the street. So if this is a trail, here's the truck again leaving that spot that we just parked at. This is the S turn. I call this the S turn. This S turn is so dangerous. And yet, if this is part of the trail, we're going to have issues at this point right here. There's no room to move. I took a picture of a car coming through there, and you can see the traffic, cars parked on both sides of the street, and you can see the car trying to get through there. They're almost at a slow 1 or 2 mile speed just to make that turn. That's not right. That's not scary. I mean, that's scary, excuse me. And this is a normal scenario as far as how these cars are parked. They're parked on both sides of the street. This is a better spot right there. Look at the congestion. Now, how do you expect to get a trail through there and cars through there at the same time? It's just scary, scary, scary. So I know my 3 minutes are probably up, and I'll go ahead and let Peg take over because she's more, I mean, we go into further stuff. Like one thing that I'm very concerned with too is at the corner of Highwood and Woodmere Oaks, I have been proposing stop signs, solar stop signs, so that these cars can hopefully stop at that corner because they're proposing the trail to go over Highwood, over Woodmere Oaks at Highwood, and then turning left to go down to the 7-Eleven. And if you go by the 7-Eleven, you know you got a crazy turn there. And I'm also trying to propose these solar stop signs at the corner of Drywood and Woodmere Oaks so that the cars hopefully can stop there, because right after that, it's also going to be another walkway or crosswalk for
I may have done
We lost you, Tom.
Okay, there we go. Am I back? Okay. So there's also, you know, at Drywood and Woodmere Oaks, right at that corridor right there, you know, that's where the trail is going to start up again at the 7-Eleven there. So that corner, that's going to be a walkway right there going across Woodmere Oaks. So that's very scary when you've got cars zooming past Drywood. They're going to go right into that walkway and someone's going to get hurt there. So, I mean, I'm not asking for the world. And the last thing, I mean, so these stop signs, when I looked at it, there's a 3-way stops at Drywood and Woodmere Oaks, and there's 4 stops at Woodmere and Highwood. So we're talking a total of 7 blinking solar stop signs for that. And the other thing that I'm on Sue Frost on, County Supervisor Sue Frost, is the lighting. Now, Casey, who's heading the spear of the trail for Citrus Heights, had said from day one, and just recently in an email, he said the whole trail will be lit up. And then when I brought this to their attention at that meeting I had on December 22nd, Leslie happened to say that that's when I first heard, the first time I heard that Highwood and Woodmere Oaks are considered connector routes and we're not going to be lighting those areas. And I went, that is not right and it's not fair. So that S turn, I talked to Sue Frost today about this. That S turn,
Director Stickney, I beg, we have a very big agenda, and these are items that the Park District cannot control. Can we restrict the comments to just the Park District
got it.
authority to make a decision? Thank you.
But as far as the crosswalk from Tempo to ours, I'm sure it's an engineering, traffic engineering. As we are well aware of, that it has to be so far away from the entrance to Tempo. So that's, when I've talked with the city of Citrus Heights, when we toured the park, that was their explanation then, and it's still their explanation. And we are well aware of it because we tried to get a light or a crosswalk here, and it has to be a certain distance. It's an engineering thing.
Mike,
Let me finish. As far as, and you are correct, Tom, anything about crossing at the 7-Eleven, it's not in the city of Citrus Heights, it's not in our park, it's the county. I'm not saying you're incorrect, but, and I'll be glad to walk with Barry and you, and we can look at that particular area, but
It's not within our jurisdiction to make any
the only
changes.
person that can do anything about it is Sacramento County. All
I
right?
understand, Mike. Mike, I'm on Sue on that, and she's aware of that. So I'm hoping to walk with Sue and Matt, and maybe you and Barry, and we can get this looked at again. But one more thing. Line of sight. Caltrans looks at the word line of sight. Now, if you go over to C Park, when you come out of C Park on Oak Avenue, the walkway is right there. So you come out of the park, the walkway is right there, so you can actually see the walkway from the park, from you leave it there. Same thing with Temple Park. Line of sight would be exactly, if they put that walkway right there when you come out, it's right across to your entrance. That's line of sight. That's where it really should be.
Well,
Okay,
I mean, where they're proposing the crosswalk, I don't have a particular issue with it, you know.
I'm not a designer, so
Right.
I leave it to the experts myself.
All right, so, like I said, I'm offering with Barry and at least one other person on the board, we will walk that area, but
I'll join you.
but we have no control over any kind of construction there.
so you have
I'd like to
control
join you.
over the entrance into your park.
And I'm talking about the Woodmore Oaks by the 7-Eleven.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand that.
That we, okay?
I understand.
I'll be
Yeah.
glad to walk with Barry, and you can set up a time.
Got it. Yeah, no, I understand that, Mike, yes. I just wanted to bring that to your attention because, like I said, I'm more on the safety side of things. These are the safety concerns that the neighborhood is having.
All right, well,
Thank you, Tom.
and as far as the motorized vehicles, we'll work on the signage, and
Oh,
we have at least 18 months to work on the 7-Eleven area. All right.
And I didn't look in the plans, was there signage when you come out at Highwood Way that says the trail connects that way or something?
I believe that's what they described to us.
Yeah, I thought there's signage that directs them for the connection.
And there's also signs and means for cyclists to slow down as they approach Highwood Way.
Is there any way that we could just put a bug in the air for our El Camino Polton?
Yes, about the dirt bikers?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, so that we
I
can.
have already.
do that now.
And
All
I-
right, great.
Yeah, Mr. DiGiacomo sent me that email yesterday with the photos, and I immediately forwarded those to Horacio, so our staff will be aware, and also to FEC Police. So they're aware.
Wonderful, thank you, thank you. Tom, we appreciate all your input, thank you.
All right, anybody else wishing to speak about the issue?
Ms. Peg Bernard?
All right.
All right. I just unmuted my microphone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, thank you.
Okay. I am getting flashes on my screen that the internet connection is spotty. So if I turn mute at some point, would somebody please raise their hand so that I'll know and can maybe readjust or something. Thank you. Well, Tom got it off to a good start, and he's not the only one concerned with safety. I would like to address things like, we'll leave it to the experts. It's been around for 24 years. Understand that the people in the neighborhood have only seen this more recently. In fact, the final draft plans only on December 6th. And we were asking questions for years and we're told to wait until that date and then we would be able to discuss it. So the 24-year thing is really irrelevant. And so is the issue of leave it to the experts, because the designs and safety that Tom is referring to are in the experts' documents. You're only being told one of the options. As Tom pointed out, the Fair Oaks crossing, C-Bar-C has the safer option. It is in design already in effect at the C-Bar-C intersection. It could be implemented to the to the Fair Oaks entrance to Sundance as well. I have no illusion that you're going to change your minds today about anything. I've communicated with you on many occasions, and I've only heard from one of you in terms of being receptive to what I presented. But I want to put you on notice that crossing of Fair Oaks, deliberately going into the bushes, across right next to the homeless encampment, is going to put somebody in absolute danger. Right now, the entrance is out in the clearing where people who are driving by can see anything that's happening. Moving it over into the shrubbery, back into the right within the reach of a homeless encampment is just gross negligence. And I want to go on record as saying that somebody's going to get hurt. So that's number one. I have just 5 short points in there, equally as short. So I'll just finish. Leaving it to the experts. No, the experts have already decided, as is in the preferential Caltrans manual, if you read it, that the T intersection is one of the safest. A 4-way, a 2-way, and then the T. What they call what is being proposed at Fair Oaks is an offset intersection, and that is not considered as safe as a T intersection. I wrote.
So Peg, it's a crosswalk. It's not an intersection. So can you clarify why we're trying to treat it as an intersection?
When those lights go on, saying that there's a crosswalk there, it becomes an intersection. People are moving, bikes are moving through that area. You have cars exiting the parking lot from Temple Park, making a left turn right into where kids are going to be crossing in from one hidden area to another. You've got them right behind the encampment, right behind the green boxes, riding across that street. That has the function of an intersection. It's a pedestrian intersection, but you can have a safer one down at the T, making the exit from Temple Park onto Fair Oaks a legitimate T intersection where everybody knows what's happening and is not expecting something unexpected when they make that left turn out of Temple Park. So that's number one. Number two, there's no FEMA or Caltrans mandate to have to build a 5-foot high bridge over Arcade Creek. Ask them to show you that. Ask them to show you where a 30-foot at-level bridge has to be raised. Not that they didn't hire somebody to tell you how they could build a 5-foot high bridge, but what is really required. And if you will see the pictures in the one that I sent you, the overflow of the banks occurs upstream where there is an S-curve. It never got to the bridge. It flooded that lowland area as is designated a floodplain. Building that bridge won't change one thing, not one. And in fact, I think you should be very skeptical of the fact that Citrus Heights has not shown you what that plan would actually look like with a 150-foot approach ramp. Now, you also here's notice, it is not ADA preferable to have a ramp. You go anywhere where there is an existing ramp which replaces the stairs, and you will see how difficult it is for ADA people, either in a wheelchair or using a walker, to navigate that. It is allowable because there are stairs. That's why it is an acceptable option. That was the best they could do. Stretching that for 150 feet, having somebody have to keep the brakes on their wheelchair or keep their walker from falling out from front of them is going to mean that really handicapped people are not going to be able to use that trail. They would run too much of a risk of falling and too much of a risk of losing control of that wheelchair. There are plenty of places, just as there are many options for Caltrans, there are many options for how to cross a creek. And one of the ones, and I wrote this, so I'm not going to repeat it all, is that it has to be a substantial item. In other words, those getting it up and out was for buildings, homes, expensive things. It specifically states in those rules that if it's not a big thing, it doesn't need it. If it's not a big expense, and that little bridge, a 30-foot bridge right now over that little creek, could be just replaced with a ready-made bridge, it's not a big deal. It is already explained in Caltrans and FEMA's rules and guidelines. So all I would put you on notice again is to be skeptical of what you're being told and ask for where it states that a little 30-foot bridge needs to be raised 5 feet high with a 150-foot approach. That's number 3. If I could just finish, you don't have a whole lot of people.
Can you pick up the pace, please?
I'm trying. Okay, this is, we did ask for time to be able to let this into the neighborhood, have people talk about it, bring you our consensus, and that's being denied to us. There's no time to be able to go out in the brochure, the neighborhood newsletter that Tom put out. So this is it. We're basically the 2 spokespeople that have been trying to give you input. We're trying to make the trail safer. So handicapped people, the last one.
Go on your next item, please.
Sure. The last one is that there's been no accounting, and I've been talking about the unnecessary number of trees that have been designed to come down. Even though Citrus Heights has revised some of it, they could do a lot better. Just know, again, on record, there are hundreds of thousands of pounds of carbon going to be released into the atmosphere every year because of those trees coming down. They're planned to replace them with a 12-inch seedling. If they even survive, won't even begin to make up for the damage being done until the trees reach the same age as the ones they replace. So there's no benefit. There's no betterment of what we're doing to the environment, and it will be probably 40 or 50 years before they even make up for the damage that was done.
Right.
I guess I'll just, in summation, what we have been trying to
Are you done, Peg?
I have one last sentence. What we have been trying to present to you is to be skeptical of what you are being told, that there are safer ways to do it, and God help anybody that winds up getting hurt because of just letting something be not investigated and just think that the experts have all the answers.
Are you done? Are you done?
I am done. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, as far as the bridge, Manny and myself were on the board about 20 years ago when we first put in the trail, and we wanted to do something to the bridge then. Chuck West, our superintendent, said if we touched anything on that bridge, we'd have to come in compliance with the existing laws. And at that time, it was going to cost us $100,000. We chose to leave the original bridge there. When we put in for this grant, now we have to comply with whatever the existing laws are and the ADA. Having toured that area twice, and I think once with Tom and maybe you, the trail is going to be better.
Can I just respond to one point in that?
No. No. You've had your opportunity. We've tried, you've had, this thing has been going on for 3 or 4 years. People have had their opportunity to speak. I've gone out twice. I've gone to a third meeting with Manny, with the city of Citrus Heights, and Barry, and I think they're trying, and originally we walked, they were talking 200 trees. I think we got it down to 2 trees in our park. So I think they've been we changed the path slightly to cut back on whatever trees would be removed. So I think, from my point of view, the city of Citrus Heights has really tried to save as many trees as possible.
Mike, I disagree with you. You should see how many trees were cut back in May.
I can't, who's talking?
Tom,
All right,
It looks like Tom.
you have no clue how many trees were cut already back in May, and no one wants to fess up to who cut them down.
No, that was in June, and that was SMUD.
and Peg was involved.
Yeah, they notified the neighbors.
It wasn't the city of Citrus Heights, it wasn't the Orangevale Park District, it was the SMUD Utility District. And they're
And that's
trying to protect,
They were told that the trees will be cut within 35 feet of their power lines. These trees are being cut, but they were cut already next to the trail coming out of Highwood, which is way more than 35 feet to those power lines.
Yeah,
They're all cut down.
If there were trees that were cut down outside of the SMUD zone, then that was certainly not authorized by us. And, I'm hoping that residents or vandals are not going into our park and cutting trees down needlessly. But if they are, I'd sure like to find out. And
I'll
There
work
were
with
210 trees cut down, and the neighbors were not notified, and I was not part of it.
well, it wasn't the city of Citrus Heights, and it wasn't the Orangevale Park District. To my understanding, it's the SMUD Utility District.
Gary, can I suggest that maybe we ask for a report maybe from SMUD that we can have on record and for review of what actions were taken during their visit during June?
sure.
Sure. So
And then we can address those issues later.
Right. All right,
Thank you.
Excellent idea, Lisa. I like that.
there you go. So,
Nadia stated that we have one comment that's in the chat box.
all right.
Yeah, she's going to read it to us, I saw.
Yes.
This is from Chelsea Bryden. I hear that this is not your jurisdiction, and I understand completely, but I would like to really encourage a walkthrough with the county about that crosswalk at 7-Eleven and maybe looking at an alternative location. My husband and I live down the street of a 7-Eleven, and I walk by it every day, and it's a huge problem. People speed going both directions more often than not. It is not safe, as Tom said. Thank you for considering my comments. And then she added that they've noticed this after only living in the neighborhood since November.
All right, well, we'll work with, I guess we'll invite Tom, and we'll invite somebody from the county maybe, because it
sounds like it's the jurisdiction of the county, so Sue Frost needs to figure out how to make maybe some kind of crossing there, because it's part of the county.
Just because it's the jurisdiction of the county doesn't mean it's also Sue Frost's position as to be there. So we have to.
No, but
We need to do our diligence to find out who would be the correct county party that we can share our concerns with, and and do a walk. We need to all be diligent. I'll go out there.
Right.
I would gladly go out and take a walk as well.
And
I know there's a lot of unsafe areas everywhere, but if we can find a way and make things safer just by our voices, then we can do that. But we need to find the proper department.
Right, so
Yes.
we'll assign that to Barry, and he can,
I'll talk with Mrs. DiGiacomo, and
Yes.
we'll coordinate something.
all right? So hopefully we'll have it before the next board meeting, but that'll be a goal. All right? Anybody else would like to talk about the Arden Cripple Creek Trail?
I don't have any comments on Facebook or YouTube.
So I guess what we'll work on is the crossing at the 7-Eleven, and maybe walk from Sundance to there.
Yeah.
Because I think Tom had some issues with that, and
And put that where?
Well, we'll walk.
Where do we park that for the park district?
We're going to walk from Sundance to the 7-Eleven because Tom had some concerns there, and then we'll see what we can do, and then we'll try to arrange somebody from the county to be with us,
Become more informed and, yeah, that's,
somebody that's actually in charge of doing something.
Do we have a committee that's going to take that, or is it just ad hoc?
We'll figure that out in the next few days. If nothing else, it'll be an ad hoc committee.
If I could add real quickly, I have a background in urban planning and traffic, and one of the things that's going to hit all of us and has been considered is the size of the street and the traffic population. Each street is categorized, or each kind of street is categorized like an ABC and so forth. The roadway at Woodmore Oaks is considered a Class C street based on residential density and also traffic population crossing. So that's what you have to look at. If you go and hit them with common sense ideas, they're going to go and say, what? So you have to consider it from the traffic aspect. You can ask them for a traffic count, and that will be beneficial to your favor because they'll actually read what's going on, the number of traffic cars are going by, and they will give you a number. That dictates into what Department of Transportation at the state regulations and guidelines and also the county regulations and guidelines are going to fit. Otherwise, you're going to be barking into the wind. So you have to consider the street, the residential density, and the traffic population. And those dictate the speeds and what kind of traffic crossings you're going to have. And again, that's what you're going to come up against. That's what Sue's going to come up against. That's what all of us are going to come up against. So again, that's what you have to look at. That's all.
One more thing you got to look at. You can, let's say, count 100 cars going through that street. 75 of them will go right through the stop sign.
Yes.
Who's counting the stop sign, people going through the stop sign?
Well, that's what they do with that traffic counter. It also counts the speed mechanism, and how quickly that air pumps in those counters dictates a lot of what the speed traffic is. And that's where you could put maybe a post with flashing lights
Or speed bumps.
to indicate that there's a crosswalk there.
Or speed bumps.
Or speed bumps.
Thanks, Manny. I think that's all good information that we can take with us on our walk.
All right. So,
there's one more comment in the chat box.
You start. There was a comment from James A. That bridge is good enough, and will the crosswalk at Fair Oaks Boulevard, will it be a stoplight there? P.S. Just build the trail. So I believe he's saying that the crosswalk will be sufficient and to build the trail, so it's a positive comment. And then that's it.
I didn't hear what did he say about the trail, the crosswalk?
Build the trail.
Okay.
Great. Well, thank you all very much.
All right, so we'll discuss the committee in the committee assignments. All right, so we'll go to 13A, I believe.
Correct.
Well, if you decide to stay, folks, thanks for joining us. If not, we understand.
You have Dennis and Gloria on here that've been waving at. I guess they wanted to talk. I don't know if anybody's seen that.
Nadia?
Dennis and Gloria, I don't have any comments from them, but they are welcome to speak.
Can you unmute them? Can you unmute them, Nadia?
Yeah. Dennis and Gloria, I can ask them to unmute.
There they go. Okay.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
There we go.
Dennis and I live on Chipwood, and we drive around and go Highwood to go to the stop sign. We have had people come out with children and their buggies or whatever, and we almost hit people. They're coming out of the park and they're walking right down the street like the street is part of the park.
Okay.
Gloria, are you still there? Did we lose
We're
her?
having some technical difficulties with this Zoom, and it does look like their sound is cut out.
Is there any way we can contact her, then invite her to whatever,
Yeah, Gloria, if you could
talk?
give us your contact information in the chat box, or maybe Tom has your contact information, we can reach you. Is everybody frozen?
I'm not sure if she can hear us.
Does Tom know her?
You know, it looks like the rest of the Zoom is connected, but we're not connected anymore.
Oh, okay.
The issue is I don't want to restart this because then we'll lose everybody. So, I'm not really sure what to do. But the other 3 board members do look like they're listening. We just cannot hear them.
Well, Barry, can we try to work through Tom to get in touch with this woman?
Yes, I can reach Tom.
I can also,
All right, so anybody else wishing to make a comment or talk to us?
I don't think anybody else can hear us right now.
I'm going to let them know that we are disconnected.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to go on to 13A.
Unfortunately,
One moment.
the presenter is also frozen out. So what we're going to have to do is probably close down. She's notifying everybody that they may need to log back in.
All right,
I might be okay because I am the
Oh, here we
co-host
go.
here.
Oh, something happened.
So
yeah,
let me see.
they are frozen.
Yeah, it looks like. Oh, she looks very angry. I am going to exit out of this, and it shouldn't end the meeting because I made myself a co-host. Okay. Ken, can we connect to my laptop maybe? And I just won't be able to check comments? I'm not sure. Let me see if I can get in there, and then maybe it'll all restart.
meetings.
I know.
Okay,
Just for taking the
we
notes,
go.
the meeting minutes. Do I need to include Dennis and Gloria's last name?
yeah.
Turner.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
One moment, we're muted. There we go.
Hello, we're back.
We're back.
Okay.
Now there's
Dennis and Gloria, we're sorry for that. But,
Can you hear us?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
great. So if you would like to start again, that would be great.
No.
We actually.
No, wait a minute, we all actually heard it, so if you guys didn't.
It's on the
Yeah.
record.
we did
call.
we did not.
So.
I can say it all over again if you'd like me to.
Here's the thing. Even though that Mike Stickney did not hear it, everybody on Zoom heard it. The Zoom is also being recorded, so that is something that you can also go back and review
Okay.
No.
hear it fully, so that you don't
The
have.
biggest thing is you're not letting the people know.
Nadia said,
Right. So
The people that live here
Gonna run right now.
don't know.
okay, and I heard that loud and clear. We do try to do whatever we can to get that message out, but maybe we look at some other ways. We do, but maybe listening to you, maybe there's some things that we can take a look at. It's always, that we hear from you. If the message is not getting out, then we need to take other approaches and look at it.
Okay.
There are people who do not even have computers, and they don't know what the heck Zoom is.
I know. But we also, we do put it in print, but again, we will look at other ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wish you that.
Thank you.
all right.
Good. So the next agenda item is a presentation from Susan Barnes from SCI Consulting. So we're skipping to agenda item 13A. and she's going to have a presentation about a funding option, which is assessments. And Susan, are you there?
I am here.
Fantastic. We're going to work on a screen share, so you can share your presentation with us.
Okay, when you're saying work on a screen share right now, it's not letting me screen share. So are you going to share it from your end?
Give me 1 moment.
1 minute.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Take your time.
Can you try now?
Okay.
And
So, how does that look?
Great.
so,
Great. Okay.
1 moment. It looks like the Zoom that is connected to the board meeting is frozen, so they're not able to see the screen.
We do have handouts, though. So
Okay, perfect.
we do have it in front of us. It would be on page 54
54.
of your packet. So we can follow along with you, Susan.
Terrific. Okay. So, are we ready?
Yeah.
Yes, we-
Great, okay. Well, thank you all for having me here this evening. I've had the privilege to work with the district for, several years now. Maybe I've been with SCI Consulting Group for just over 16 years. I had my anniversary this month. So I've been working with the district for most of that time on your assessment that you have in place now. So I'm happy to talk to you about new funding options as well. So a little bit about SCI Consulting Group, especially for members of the public who may not be familiar. We're a public finance firm. We do all sorts of different kinds of revenue measures, surveys, feasibility analysis, other planning services. We are a private company, but all of our clients are public agencies.
Recording in progress.
Primary local funding options that the Park District has available to you are benefit assessments, special taxes, general obligation bond. I understand someone's going to be speaking after this about that particular thing, so I won't talk much about that. Melrose Community Facilities District, also known as the CFD, and then Quimby Ordinance and Development Impact Fee Program. We're mostly going to talk about benefit assessments and special taxes tonight, unless you have questions about other things. The main difference, this chart shows a lot of the differences between the two. The rules for both were set by the Jarvis Taxpayers Association. The main differences are special taxes are voted on by registered voters, and it takes a supermajority or 2/3 of the votes for a special tax to pass. The benefit assessment option is done by a mailed ballot proceeding, and it goes to property owners. So in that case, it's the people who would have to pay who get to vote. And because of that, the Jarvis Taxpayers Association said, well, you only need a majority. Just over 50% of the people would have to vote yes for it to pass. They're both common. The benefit assessment is definitely more common for parks. You do have some limitations on a benefit assessment in terms of how the money can be used, and it might be a little bit more risky legally. There's sort of more things people can pick at in order to want to sue you, for instance, if they didn't like it, than a tax. And in some ways, a tax is a little bit less risky than a benefit assessment.
Can I ask questions on this page?
Sure.
I guess what I'm wondering is the special benefit required. The special tax and geo bond says no.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says benefit assessment, yes. So what is this special benefit required?
Sure, that's a great question. So one of the things that comes with a benefit assessment is that we have to show that whatever it is that the district is planning to do with the funds provides a special benefit to the property in the district that's being charged, and that the amount that the assessment is being charged to that property is no more than the actual special benefit received. And so in an engineer's report, you have to do part of what it includes is dividing what's called a general benefit, which is a benefit to the general public, the public at large, versus a special benefit, which is a benefit only to properties within the district.
Which is what you provide us for OLAD every year, correct?
Right. So that's included in your engineer's report for, yeah.
Yeah. So we'd have to look at what the latest OLAD report said in what the special benefit is. And we always reduce the amount we charge people because the special benefit is more than what we can collect. Am I right?
Well, the for OLAD, you have a rate that's set.
It's set.
And right, and it doesn't have any increase, right? There's no way you can increase it. You're not allowed to increase it without having another election or ballot measure. So yes, even though your people are getting more benefit than.
Darn, let me pull up my last SCI report.
Yeah, so the benefit
and see. I want to make sure that the benefit that they're getting already exceeds what they have to pay.
They are, because otherwise, right, it is, and that's part of what our job is, to make sure that the benefit they're getting is calculated, is more than what they're paying, because you're not allowed to have the benefit be less than what they're paying, and so that's fine. And it's just one of the things that if you're going to do a new measure, that means there are new things they're going to get, and we need to distribute that benefit appropriately among the parcels. So,
but is this different than, I guess, our attorneys, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, our attorneys say we can't go back to what created OLAD, but this would be just considered some others benefit assessment?
Yeah, so your current OLAD is one that was voted on some time ago, more than 20 years ago, maybe 25-ish years ago. And it can't be, the amount cannot be increased without going back to ballot again. And so you have a choice. If you want more funding, you can do one of two things. You can keep OLAD in place and do new funding, which would be additional funds on top of it. Or you can say, we're going to do a new funding measure that will replace OLAD, and we won't charge OLAD anymore if this new one passes. And that's up to you to decide either way. And there's positives and negatives to each of those choices.
And then when I didn't see in the presentation what the somewhat limited use of the funds were for the benefit assessment, is that included in the endnotes?
No, but I can tell you that one of the main differences about a benefit assessment is because it's benefit to property, you are not allowed to charge for recreation services. So, for instance, if you want to pay someone who's going to be teaching a dance class, that's not something that the assessment can pay for. The assessment can pay for a community center. It can pay for all sorts of other things.
They can pay for maintenance like we use OLAD. We use OLAD for building and maintenance, but not for staff costs and recreation.
So
I just want to make sure this benefit assessment is similar to our OLAD.
Your OLAD is a benefit assessment.
Okay.
Right.
But it was grandfathered in a different regulation that I think has been not used recently.
Well, it's a benefit assessment. Benefit assessments have been around for a long time. Proposition 218 came in the 1990s.
That's the prompt. Thank you.
And that added some requirements to benefit assessments that are not in effect for one that's been here since before then. So maybe
okay. Thank you. You've answered my questions.
Great.
Thanks, Susan.
Okay. Sure. Happy to do that. Okay, so there are something called a voter initiative that I just want to mention very briefly. And what it basically says is that if a special tax is initiated by members of the public, not by the district board, but members of the public, go through a number of steps, including circulating a petition, then they can actually do a special tax that only requires a majority support rather than 2/3. It takes longer because of the signature gathering, and I do want to let you know that there is currently a pending proposition that's at the state level right now that may be starting to circulate for petitions in February to go on the November ballot, which would say that change voter initiative so that they would need a 2/3, just like if you started at the district. So I just want to mention it, but it's probably not a great option to do this year until we know whether that new state proposition A gets the signatures that it would need to be on the ballot in November, and B, does it pass. We think it's very likely that both of those things will happen. So I just want to mention this to you, but probably not a great bet for you right now. So steps for a successful funding measure. One is a public opinion survey. So you can answer a whole number of questions, which we'll talk about. You need to develop plans that align with what your community desires. If you want to do a ballot measure to say, hey, will you pay X dollars more to get such and such, you want to make sure, obviously, you're addressing what it is your public wants, which I know you're great at doing. So I'm not worried about that at all. Then doing stakeholder and community outreach so that people understand why you're doing a ballot measure, what the money would pay for, why it makes sense for them to pay attention to this. You do the ballot proceeding. And then, of course, live up to your commitments, just like you've done with your current OLAD. You promised the community center, which you built. You promised to maintain it, which you've been doing. So that always helps you when you've already done one measure and you've kept your promises on that one measure. It's great for building community trust. So that's wonderful. The benefits for a survey, one, you can determine the level of community support. How supportive are they? Price sensitivity. Sometimes you want to do, this always happens, right? Like there's a whole bunch of things you would love to do, but if folks can only afford so much. And so it helps you to figure out where that sweet spot is between what kinds of things the community wants and what they feel they can afford to pay for the things that they want. You can identify which projects and services are most important. So, if I've got a list of 10 different things you want to do and the public says, we really, really want these 3, those are the 3 that you probably want to go ahead and concentrate on. You can tell the level of support based on property owner or voter, which helps you to decide, do you want to do an assessment or do you want to do a tax, which makes more sense. And then potential to identify priorities or maybe issues you may not know of. So it could be that in the survey, we like to leave room for people to write comments, and sometimes they'll come up with something that for some reason the public has not communicated to you in the past. Might learn something brand new that wasn't on your radar, but now it is. Like they really want X, Y, or Z that you didn't even know that they love pickleball or who knows. Common missteps, if a district is unclear about what they want to do with the funds, if you're not willing to eliminate projects, sometimes, the folks leaving the district really want to do X, Y, and Z. We had one park district I won't name where we did several surveys because they really wanted to do a particular project, and the public kept saying, no, that's not what we want you to do. And eventually they did a successful measure without that project. So believe your public when they tell you what they want. Not taking the time to get community input is often a mistake. If you don't stay on message, that's a problem. It's great if you have volunteer resources. It's going to be really helpful if you have an active volunteer community. And then, of course, following through. And again, I'm not worried about that with your district because you've done a great job following through with OLAD. So some potential dates, if you want to do an assessment measure and get it on the 22-23 tax bills, you can do that. There is still time. We would suggest this timeline that you see before you. I'm not going to go through it in detail. The important thing to understand is that levies are due to the county to go on the tax bills in August. And so any measure that you want to have on the 22-23 tax bill, you'd have to be all finished, have the ballots counted and tabulated and approved by the district board before that date. And so this would get you to do a ballot measure in May or June ballots for an assessment have to be out for 45 days. So this would get you on that timeline, but the board would have to act pretty quickly to go forward. If you're going to do a survey in early February or in March, we're midway through January. It's not really a lot of time. So this would be a rush, but it's doable. If you want to wait another year, we can do it on a little more relaxed sort of schedule. It gives you more time for public outreach. But then, of course, you don't get the funds for a whole other year. So you have to balance that.
So I have a question, Susan.
Sure.
I guess along the lines of the 20-year-old OLAD assessment, it was one huge assessment, and they went out and got a loan against that assessment.
Yeah.
To buy and pay for a bunch of stuff to pay back through the assessments that came over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to do an assessment and not try to fund it? Because back then they were trying to buy a bunch of stuff all at once.
Yeah.
So, and I'm looking at the difference between this and a GO bond where we get money over time.
Yeah.
Is it possible to do an assessment like this and then finance it over time?
Yeah, so you can, it's up to you how you want to do it. So you can say, we're going to put this benefit assessment in place, and then we're going to get some kind of financing and say, hey, we're going to repay that financing using funds from the assessment. You can do that if you want to, or you can do it pay as you go, or you can do a combination. It's really up to you. So you can get a loan of any kind.
Against that assessment, like we did with OLAD. They did a 20-year loan against that assessment, and then the 20-year loan was paid off. But we could do this assessment and do pay as we go as the funds accumulate and use them. Correct?
Yes, that's correct. So you could do it either way, or you could do kind of a combination. You could say, well, some of it will be pay as you go, and some of it's completely up to the board, however you want to do that. You just should decide that before we do the ballot measure. So when we do the ballot measure, you want to be upfront with people. Hey, you're going to get all this stuff right away, or no, we're going to do a pay as you go, and you're going to see over time. First, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that, and then we're going to do the next thing, right? So,
Question, Sue. So could we, with our present OLAB, borrow against that?
Yeah.
So we don't need to go to a GO bond. We don't need to do another assessment district. We can just borrow a percentage of that.
Yeah, if you feel that the funds that you're getting from the current OLAD is sufficient for what the district's needs, then you can borrow and say, hey, we're going to repay this loan using the funds from the current assessment.
That might be some. It won't
No, but Mike, we could get just a little bit more with another assessment, be a small, and use it for pay as you go, or borrow against both for some big bangs.
Right. Well, I guess we'll have to put it on the future to discuss, to decide. And you made a comment to begin with that you thought it would not be a good time to do this in the next election. Is that correct? Did I hear you correctly or not?
No, I think that now is definitely a good time to go forward with a benefit assessment. If that's what you want to do, there's no reason not to do it now. There are other districts that
other than the time is crunching down on us.
Yeah, the only thing that I was saying I wouldn't go for right now would be I wouldn't count on a voter initiative at a 50% threshold, because that may be eliminated as an option in the November election. So that's not a great idea to go with. But either a benefit assessment or a regular special tax, you could certainly do this year.
Can we go back to the page before that was Rush? I guess, which election would the Rush be on?
So this would be a benefit assessment that would be a bit of a rush if you wanted to do a survey and a benefit assessment. Again, because your deadline for that is you have to have everything buttoned up basically by the end of July so that levies can be submitted to the county in August to go on the property tax bills for the coming year, for the 22-23 tax year. So the county has a hard deadline as to when you have to tell them, hey, here's what you should charge every property on the property tax bill. And that hard deadline is August 10. So you have to be completely finished with this basically by the end of July.
But it has to be on a ballot. What's the ballot? When is the
Great. So
when do people vote on it? I don't see a voting date on this.
Great. So, right. So because it's a ballot measure May, June, because a benefit assessment is done by an all mailed ballot, and you can mail those ballots on any day. There's no rules about what day. You can 365 days a year. You can pick any day you want and mail an all mail ballot for a benefit assessment. So you're not, yeah. So the main thing you really are worried about for a benefit assessment is when does the county need to have you be done?
And when do we send out the ballots? It seems like, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So under this, we would mail them in May or June, hopefully early May, hopefully more May than June, because they have to be in the mail for 45 days. At the end of the 45 days, you have a public hearing. And then the ballots have to be tabulated. So you want to have some time for the ballots to be tabulated. And then it has to go back to the board again. And the board has to then accept the board would then accept the ballot results, the ballot tabulation results. And if the ballot results were favorable, that if you got more than the 50%, then the board, in order to put it on the tax is for the coming year, would have to approve a resolution saying we're ordering that these be put on for the coming year.
And we'd have to have 50% of the voters plus one, 50% plus one vote for this of all the ballots we send out.
Of all the ballots that are returned as voted. So if you send out, so it's of the people, just like in other elections, of the people who show up at the polls. In this case, it's of the people who mail their ballots back, and we hope as many people as possible mail the ballots back. It has to be at over 50% of the
ballots. Okay.
Just for fun, to make it more confusing, in this case, the ballots are weighted by the amount that they would have to pay. So if you,
I thought it's going to be a per property payment.
So every property is going to pay a certain amount, but let's say you own two houses. Maybe you live in one house and you rent another house out, or your kids.
I've seen your SCI reports. The business pays something different than a regular homeowner versus a condo owner. Okay,
exactly. That's right. And a vacant property is going to pay less. And so it's weighted by the amount they would have to pay. And so it has to be more than 50% basically of the total dollars is how it works out. And I didn't make the rules. The rules were made by the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, and we just do what they say. So,
but the percent based on your studies, because I've got numerous copies of your stuff here in my office. it's OLAD has come down to just the one amount. Okay, so now I got to go back and look at those to see where actually some people would pay. Okay.
Yeah. So after you see that, if you have any questions, I'm sure Barry can connect us. We'd be happy to answer future questions that may come up later. Okay. So I have one last thing I want to show you. If you want to go with a special tax rather than a benefit assessment, the first election that you could get on, and this is set by register of voters. We're not under control. It's not like a benefit assessment where you have so much more flexibility. The next election is November 8th of 2022, because that's after August. If we wanted to levy for the 22-23 tax year, we would have to get it into the county for August. If you do an election in November of this year for a tax, you need 2/3. It'll be registered voters. Every voter gets one vote. It's not weighted. It wouldn't go on the taxes until the 23-24 tax year, because we've missed the August 22 date. We couldn't submit it until August of 23, and it would go for 23-24, if that makes sense.
I'm thinking we're not concerned about when we can levy. We're concerned about when we.
Yeah.
because we've already been behind the 8 ball with the timing of being able to do this because of the pandemic. It's totally
Yeah.
set us back.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. So just so you kind of know what the timing is on that. So we can do a November election. You certainly have time to do that, to get on there if you want to. And that's up to you if you prefer that. So that was it for the presentation. So any other
Thank you.
questions?
I got my questions in along the way. I appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you. Then we'll go on to another presentation.
Yes. Susan, thank you very much and appreciate your patience.
Oh, happy to come at any time. And again, if you have any other questions, get them to Barry, and I'm sure he'll be able to get them to me.
Absolutely.
We'll get them answered.
All right.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
So if anybody has any questions that need to be answered, refer them to Barry, and then he will, so we don't have any Brown Act
Right.
deal.
Yeah, send them to me and I'll coordinate with Susan and get those answered and distributed.
All right? So now we're on to 13B, President
Yes.
John Isom.
Yes. Is John Isom? There he is.
He's there.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
How are you?
Hello.
I'm great. Good to see you, even if it's just virtually.
Yeah, I know. Well, thanks for staying late.
You bet.
All right.
Would you, do you have a screen share with?
If I've got screen share, let me, it says only the host can share, so I need permission.
Oh, give me one moment.
Thank you.
And this is
Try it
on
again?
page 61 through 75.
Yes. And John did update his presentation, so what he's going to be presenting is updated from what I sent out with the packet.
So it's different than what I've got?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, whatever.
Well, yeah, I'm showing that my packet says it starts at page 64, but.
All right, go ahead, John. Let's.
Okay. All right. Can you guys, I can't see you, so I guess if I could get a verbal, can you see my presentation that's up?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Great. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for the opportunity to chat this evening. For me, it's kind of a reacquaintance of sorts with the district, and some of the information that I'm going to share is going to be, a review of what has been shared before for some of the new board members and administrators. This might also be new, and for others, it may be a review. But what I tried to do is update some of the information as best I could, so that we can have kind of the most robust and comprehensive conversation on the topic. So I'm going to speak to you about a tool that's the most commonly used by municipalities for capital improvement programs, and that's that of a general obligation bond. For a bit of an introduction for those that don't know me, I work with Isom Advisors, kind of the namesake. We're financial advisors to municipalities throughout the state of California. We probably sell upwards of 130, 140 bonds per year. And in the last 5 years, we've probably done 160 new bond elections. So while we also do parcel taxes and some other things, we're big believers, and it might also have to do with the clients that we work with, that this is the right tool for a lot of people. Some of our relevant experience, we work with a lot of the districts, Carmichael and Coalinga and Fulton El Camino, and a lot of school districts. San Juan Unified is a client of ours that overlaps, of course, your district. And so our job at the end of the day is when a district says, hey, I need money, we say, all right, let us take you through the path to getting that money. And our job is complete when we usually sell a bond or sell some type of debt instrument and say, hey, congratulations, Barry, money's in the bank. Good luck spending it. So we don't have anything to do with the spending. It's just the getting, and it's the selling at the most cost-effective, cost-efficient rates for you as a district. Because at our core, we are fiduciaries. We have a legal obligation to provide you with the best financial advice. But we also are a full-service firm in the sense that we do the surveys, we do campaign work, we do planning, and then at the end of the day, we also do the financial advisory bit of work here. So I put quotes here updated capital plan because I can only update the financial side of things, but this will be a little bit of a review of information that has been shared previously from you, but also by me. So when we looked at the district's capital needs, this would be a couple years back. You can see the date in the upper right-hand corner, October 2019. District had about $16 million of total needs, right? And I put this over 2 pages, but between Pecan Park and Almond Community Center, Sundance, and Orangevale Community Park, bottom right-hand corner, upwards of $16 million. I'm sure that number is higher. I've seen a lot of new updated capital plans, and the news is depressing, I'll be honest with you, about just how much cost escalation there is. The good news is that many and most tax bases continue to grow, and that's important here because unlike an assessment that's based on property owners specifically, this is just based on simply assessed value within your district boundaries. And if assessed value goes up, you can get more money. In the rare instances that assessed value goes down, usually just temporarily, you may get less money. But I want to take you through how this works in your district and specifically general obligation bonds for those that need a refresher on it. Okay, so overview, what is a geo bond? Debt instruments, like I say, most common cost-efficient tool for California municipalities. As the name implies, general, it's typically considered a benefit to everybody. And that's why certain municipalities like school districts, healthcare districts, rec and park districts, community service districts, right? Any improvements really generate the entire population. So the entire population gets to vote on it. The entire tax base or property that's taxable gets to pay on it. The second bullet point is a unique distinction in that it's considered to be backed by the full faith credit of the issuing municipality. What does that even mean? That means that the district, the county rather, treasurer, tax collector is going to do everything in their power, including levying a tax rate sufficient to pay the investors on the bonds that are due in every given year. Okay. The tool that they use is what's called an ad valorem tax. It's the same tax that the county uses for the 1% that they collect, right? Most people feel that a geo bond is the fairest form of taxation out there because it kind of is on an ability to pay. The person who has a $10,000 assessed mobile home would pay 1/10 of someone who has a $100,000 assessed home, who would pay 10 times less than a person who has $1 million home or $1 million property. Again, the distinction is assessed value, which is not market value, but it's the value that you can that the county assessor places on the property, not the value that you could sell your home for or your property for. So those that are on fixed incomes and have been in their homes forever, like my mom, same house, 1974, she pays a fraction of what the next door neighbor pays who bought the house 5 years ago. Again, so that's based on assessed value. And the reason they call it unlimited is whatever the tax rate needs to be is what the tax rate's going to be as levied by the treasurer tax collector. Because of that, they're considered one of the safest investments out there, if not the safest. To note, in the state of California, there's never been a general obligation bond default. Think of that for a minute. When you talk about an investor who wants to buy your debt, if they know that historically, because of the unlimited ad valorem pledge that exists, that there's never going to be a default, hey, that means I'll probably take a much lower interest rate than something that is likely to default or could default. And so because of that, you as an issuing entity are able to borrow millions of dollars at extraordinarily low interest rates. They do provide, or they do require, a 2/3 voter approval. And they are limited in how you can spend the money. So facilities, fixtures, furniture, equipment, essentially things are the limits of how you can spend those dollars. And I think that's an important discussion point and an important distinction. As a district who's evaluating, hey, what do I need money for? If it's for, this category, which might be staffing or operating or facilities, you would use a different instrument for each of those particular options. School districts, if they want money for teachers, they do a parcel tax. If they want money for buildings, they do a bond. Okay. So part of the evaluation and what the district should consider is, hey, what do we need money for? If it's for facilities, then a geo bond is a tremendous option for you. Not to get too into the weeds on how they work, but I think it's always important. If we start down in the bottom right-hand corner with the municipality gets money from the bond investors to the left. You get the money, you make facility improvements. And then if we go up to the district property owners from the municipality, they get the improved facilities as property owners, community members, but then they also are making bond payments through property taxes. So every year, the county tax collector in green, they send a tax bill to the property owners. It's part of the standard tax bill that they send, but there's a little line item for you. And they say, this is how much the tax rate is for the Orangevale school bond or rec and park bond, excuse me. And then they collect all those dollars and then they send them to the left to the paying agent. The paying agent plays a role of invoicing and collecting. So they invoice the county. This is how much you guys owe this year. They collect the money and then they send it down to the depository trust company in black, who in turn sends those payments to the investors. And then that step repeats every year. So think of it almost like a home mortgage. You in this case, a home mortgage, a bank gives you the money up front. You use those dollars to, in this case, purchase a house, and then you repay that with mortgage payments over time. In this scenario, the investors give you that money up front, you use it to make improvements, and then those get paid off over time. Okay? So some specific analysis for you guys and some updated analysis for you guys. So this is Orangevale Rec and Park District's assessed value, and it's the history of it, at least going back last 20 years. And you can see that the tax base has doubled in the last 20 years. And you can also see, if you go down to the last line item, that in 2021-22, which is the fiscal year we're in, the tax base is essentially $4 billion. Okay? That's all of the value, taxable value, within the boundaries of the district. Okay? Now, to the right, I wanted to provide some context here, because you might be saying, wait a minute, is this for San Juan? No, it's not for San Juan. But what this shows us is that in your community, in both November 12 and 16, $350 and $750 million worth of bonds respectively, at a $60 tax rate, were approved at 60% and 69.4% respectively. Now, that's just an interesting data point. It's not something that you would hang your hat on and say, oh, well, then we should be able to pass a bond because our voters supported a $60 tax rate. It's a totally different animal, totally different time. But it is interesting to note that there is support and has been in the past in this community. Specific to you, we wanted to analyze this. And again, this is picking some different tax rates, not knowing if, in fact, we still have a $15.9 million master plan. In fact, it's much likelier to be higher. But this gives you an idea of, okay, what kind of a tax rate would I need in order to get sufficient funds to do all or some or most of your projects? So left to right.
And here's where I have a question for you, John.
You bet.
On this page. What I like is that we get the funds over different time frames. So we're not inundated with trying to do a whole bunch of stuff at once, which we can't do. So you have Series A, B, and C with the total proceeds. And I'm thinking we're probably more like at the 17 million that we need to do all of our projects. But given that, when we do these series bonds, does that mean each time we do them, the same owners, that $15 per 100,000 assessment for Series A, are they charged at $15 for just until 23, 25? I don't understand how the homeowners are charged. Is that 20 years for each one?
Yeah, you bet. So in 2023, assuming voters approved an authorization of 17.85 million. So what they're giving you is the authority to sell up to $17.85 million worth of bonds. We have estimated a tax rate to them of $15. And I say estimate because we can't control what the tax rate is. Remember at the beginning, I said it's an unlimited ad valorem pledge. So what do? We try to be conservative and we assume $15. And most importantly, we assume, and look at that footnote there, we assume an AV growth of 3.5%. I'm going to go back a second. Look at this.
Yeah, no,
in the black.
I know.
4.4 is your average.
Yeah, and it's even higher now.
Right. And if we're conservative, what happens when we estimate 15 and we grow at 4 or 5 or 6, the tax rate goes down. That's not a bad problem. If we're too aggressive and we don't hit, let's say you assume 5% growth and we don't hit that, then the tax rate goes up. Now we have a little bit of a problem. So you want to be on a slightly conservative basis. So the structure here, to answer your question, is that in 2023, hypothetically, all goes according to plan. We sell $5.97 million. And those dollars and those payments are fixed and they're locked in for the next 30 years. Now, for the first 2 years, if all goes well,
but it's only $5. But you said we were telling them they're agreeing to the $17.85 million dollars. But in 2023, we're only charging them a percentage of that. So whatever percentage.
We're only going to sell 6 million, but the tax rate will be 15 because I'm carving out a portion of the Series A bond to allow Series B to come in 2025. And I'm carving out a portion of Series B to allow for Series C to come in at 2027. So as far as the taxpayer goes, assuming we actually grew at exactly 3.5%, the tax rate would be $15 every year per 100,000 of assessed value. So it's a matter of how we structure. We're carving out a spot, if you will, for the Series B and C bonds with Series A. And if for some reason someone won the lottery and they're like, hey, good news, you don't need to sell any more bonds. I'm donating $20 million to fix all of our parks. Yay, no more selling of Series B and C. Then the tax rate after the first 2 years would go from 15 to say 9. And then it would go down.
So I have a $100,000 house. And we approve this. Come 2023, I start paying $15 a year.
Correct.
And come 2025, I'm still paying $15 a year.
Correct.
Because my house is still $100,000. And same throughout Series C. But they're 20 years each. So each year, come 2027, I still have until 2047 to pay that $15 a year for my $100,000 home.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, it's just 30 years, not 20 years, but yeah.
Oh, 30 years, sorry. Okay.
You got the concept.
Yep, I got it.
So this is important. And again, these numbers are just, 9, 12, 15, 19. The reason we had picked these previously and the reason I'm updating these numbers was because they were not too far off from the max that you would have needed, assuming the 15.9 million, right? So I kept the same tax rates. I updated the assessed value. And this gives you an idea, a ballpark of what the tax rate might be. This is why geobonds are so popular, I think. And I think this is why a lot of people like them, because to get a commensurate amount of proceeds, and I don't know if the prior presenter has done the analysis, but to say, all right, what would the tax rate or assessment rate need to be to get $18 million? It's going to be pretty high. It's going to be very high because it doesn't distinguish between the $10,000 piece of dirt, the $12 million factory, the $1 million mansion, the 500, that right? I mean, there's this whole ability to pay that an ad valorem tax gets you. Whereas in the case of, my mom and her next door neighbor, she'd be paying essentially the same as the next door neighbor based on proximity to a park, not on ability to pay. So you end up getting
you're looking at the basic tax base and what the assessed values are at the current assessed values, right? Yeah,
exactly.
these proceeds are based on the current,
Based on the
based on that, the
4 billion.
3.9 million. Yeah,
Yep,
gotcha.
yep, based on that. You got it.
Okay.
So this gives us an idea. So here's what we did, and I'm going to kind of gloss over a little bit of this, but I think it's important to note, because this does, at least the GEO bond comes down to your voters, right? 22,000 voters. You can see the breakdown between Democrats, Republicans.
Oh yeah,
others.
you updated this.
A little bit. And I also wanted to show you Fair Oaks, because, Fair Oaks passed a successful bond a couple years ago. And I would say they share very similar, similar demographics. They may be a little bit older than you guys, but I thought it was a pretty apt comparison. And they were able to pass a successful, bond in their community. Same with Pleasant Hill, same with, Coalinga Huron. Voter turnout's important, and I'll tell you why. Depending on when you go and do an election is going to, or could determine your chances for success. These are Orangevale Rec and Park District's historical election turnouts based on people who've lived here and who's shown up based on the type of election. And you can see at the bottom, they're 2010, 12, 14, 16, every 2 years, and they're primary and they're general. Okay, so the last presidential, of course, the whole world showed up, 85%, everyone doing their civic duty. What we're looking at now is more of a November and June of 2018, where you're maybe looking at about 2/3 level of support, 2/3 people turning out to vote, rather. Depending on when you go, you can do a high turnout election, and that may give us a very different result than a low turnout election. A low turnout election is comprised primarily of senior citizens, of more conservative leaning voters tend to be a little bit more Republican, and tend to be a little less supportive of taxes and bonds, just broad brush assumptions here. A bigger turnout election, you're getting a younger voter, right? You're getting a slightly more Democratic voter, maybe a little urban voter, more urban, and in some cases a voter that's maybe a little more inclined to support taxes. And every community is different. I'm going to say that, and I know that because we've done surveys for you guys. But I remember the community of Taft down in Kern County. If anyone knows their geography, Taft, West Kern, oil country, extremely conservative. We put the bond in front of them thinking, wow, this is gonna be a tough one. And we got 82%. That was 20 years ago. And what that taught me at that time is that just because someone has conservative demographics, or they're old, or they're a male, or they're white, or they're Republican, or they're fill in the blank, it doesn't matter. People will support you, and we can't just unilaterally, assume people won't support you. But voter turnout is important, guys, because you might have a situation that you could pass a bond in a big November turnout that you might not be able to pass a bond in a lower turnout. Again, based on the demographics and the propensity of the person showing up. So these are relevant. That's why I shared it with you, to give you an idea of what this means. We did a survey for you guys. If you remember, for those that have been on the board and been on with the district, we did a survey, and I wanted to bring forward a couple of key points to that. Some of the things that the survey told us is they like the projects. They like you, but there's some tax sensitivities. These are the important questions that you would ask, and to say, hey, would you be, well, I'm not going to read the question, but basically, would you be more likely or less likely to vote for it if it was blank? And we ask it in an annual basis, in this case, $19 a year. And then we also asked it on a monthly basis. That SSA, SSB just means split sample. Half the people got the A version of the question, half the people got the B. So folks weren't really too keen on a $19 per 100,000 of assessed value per year tax when we last surveyed. Then we got to the 15. 15, all of a sudden, hey, we're getting closer. 62%, 63%. If we add the lean yeses, we get there. We're right at the 67, 2/3 threshold at $15. But you still have, 27, 28% said, not really going to support you at that level. Then you get to 12. It's like, golly, this will make it easy for you, $12 a year. Now you got 67, 69, 70% support at the lower tax rates. So tax rates matter. Impressions of how much it's going to cost matter. Even though the community likes you, or at least did, it's important to be sensitive to the tax rate of your community. And then we even did the layup. I say layup. I mean, I've seen bonds fail at $9. So there's no layup, I guess, in any scenario. But in your community, a tax rate of $9.75 a month, you just had people say, "Oh, in that case, I'll support you." But 18% no, 21% no, respectively, shows you that you do have a, kind of an ideological group that probably would say no if the tax rate was $1 a year. Because let's be honest, $9 a year per 100,000 of assessed value, even if your house was assessed at $1 million, you're paying $7 a month.
You're paying 90 a year. So yeah, I have a question, John. So this is when you guys did this survey. I mean, I recognize that maybe some of your surveyed population, you tell them $9 per 100,000. I mean, does the survey say if you have an average, what is the average price now if you do the assessed value by the number of properties? The average in the middle is like 350,000. So, I mean, I'm just wondering if the surveyed participants understand that 900 per 100,000 for your average home price would be 3.5 times that. Did they understand? When you survey them? I'm just kind of curious if they understood the question.
I don't know the answer. I don't know who understood it, who didn't. I would bet that many don't.
Because that's a $31 assessment to the average homeowner in Orangevale. I mean, that's $31 a year, and nobody put it to them. If your house is this value, you're going to be assessed $31.50.
Right. So the reason we don't do this is as follows. When a voter gets a sample ballot, all they get is an estimate on a per $100,000 basis. And there's no one there to give them the estimates. There's no one there to give them the averages. There's no one there to calculate it for them, right? Because my mom pays a fraction of what I pay and what her neighbors pay. So we present it to them the way that they would hear it or read it, as if they were on their own having to read a sample ballot. So $9 per 100,000 assessed value, per year. What does that mean? Maybe someone thinks it's just $9. Maybe
for grandmas and grandpas out there, that's what it might mean to them.
Right. But we don't want to make those assumptions. We would rather leave it at what might be an uneducated position, because that's the only position that we can guarantee. And that assumes they're reading the sample ballot. But that's why we don't get into the game of, well, let me tell you what the average is and how much that might actually mean to you, and putting a graph and this, that, and the other. That would be an exercise for the campaign committee. But I think this gives us a baseline, because I'd like to think most people would agree, $9, $12, all of those should be awfully affordable for most residents.
Yeah, totally. I could see 74% saying, yeah, I'll pay $9 a year. Not knowing that it's really $31 because my value of my house is not $100,000.
Or the person who responded might know it, and they said it will be $9, or maybe for me 18, or maybe for me 54. Right? We don't know what. Very few people will have the average. People are going to have both sides of the equation. But the important thing, guys, is that there is support at the 2/3 level, and there is support at the different tax rates. And just as a reminder, right, just to go back to, I'm going forward, but I put it in front of you again, $9 comfortably, at least at this time, said, yeah, we're good for $9. I would say $12 comfortably said, yeah, we're good at 12. So 14.6 million in proceeds. 19, that'd be a stretch, I think. 15, the case could be made that maybe 15 is the appropriate level. I'll talk about how you make that final decision there, just on my closing pages here. This was the last page of the survey that I wanted to share. There was a whole lot of other stuff if you remember, but But this, I think, is one of the most important pieces. And that is this, we gave them all the information, projects, tax tolerance questions, how the money would be spent and why we need it, et cetera, et cetera. And then we said, now that you've heard all this information, now what do you think? Would you vote yes or no? 74%. So we were really able to capture a lot of the folks that were undecided and leans and get them to be yeses. If you notice, the no's didn't really move all that much, right? So really, that just shows us the importance of educating the community. But number two, that we did, I'm going to use past tense, have the support of the 75%. So, this was just kind of the conclusions and recommendations. Again, most of it was all good news other than the tax sensitivities that did exist. The last bullet point was an important one. And this was, I know Greg had started the process and then kind of got hijacked by COVID like many. But that was, hey, what do the movers and shakers and the stakeholders think? And could we get their support for a higher end of the spectrum, $15 tax versus the 12? Can we get the chamber? Can we get the foundation? Can we get, elected officials, the county supervisor, et cetera, et cetera? And that's still an important exercise in all of this. My last slide really is a timeline, and a lot of this was covered, but I think this is geared towards the November election. It says 2020, it's actually 2022. But one of the things that you do need to do is update your facilities needs analysis and get new dollars. As I said, the inflation is high. You're going to see some construction cost escalations that may move things around, but that's step number one. Step number two is, I say, approve re-exploring the feasibility for a geo bond. If you think this is the right tool for you, which I firmly believe that it is, we need to go back and test the waters again. The survey is a little stale. The data is stale. Heck, we've gone through a big pandemic, and attitudes have changed throughout the state. What we should do is not a full-blown survey, but what we call a tracking poll. Think of that as a mini survey. It's a real small survey to ask, the still questions of, would you still vote yes? Do you still like me? And what do you think of these tax rates? Because it is a tax. I want to remind you of that. What do you think of these different tax rates? We don't need to get into the, this project and that project. Those levels of support don't change. But tax tolerances do, and willingness to support a bond does. But if that's the case, we go out, do a tracking poll in March, present the results to you in April. You can see the public information program from January to April, which is just talking to those key stakeholders. And then based on all of that, you get that information back. We revise our financing and capital plan to reflect the will of the community. And if we've done our job right, and that's what we do, dozens and dozens of times a year, then we've put together a program that the community is willing to support. Not my idea. It's not, it's not Barry's idea. It's not the board. I mean, maybe it's collectively our ideas, but really, if we've done our job, we're bringing a program to the community that the community has said, that's what I'm willing to support. Those are my projects. Those are my tax rates. And I'd be willing to vote yes on that. And then the campaign committee's job became a lot easier because they're not having to convince people. And it's just a straight up 2/3 vote. You can see the deadline to submit a resolution calling the election would be early July. And then the campaign organization's typically in August. And then you run the campaign September, October, with election day on November 8th. And I think that concludes my presentation, my remarks. Happy to take questions.
Are we going to have to do another survey between now and April? And what is it going to cost the district?
Yeah, I won't call it a survey. I want to call it a tracking poll, which is mini survey. I'd ballpark it from $5,000 to $7,500.
Okay.
I have a quick question. The end sample of the survey, was that around 500 people?
I don't have that in front of me. Our typical sample size is 400. So that's going to be my assumption, is that it would have been 400. That gives us a nice margin of error that we're comfortable with without breaking the bank.
Okay, so
on cost of the district.
Okay, so the end sample was 400.
Right.
400 completes would be my recollection, yeah.
Okay, real quick, my spouse received a phone call in the survey, and she let him know after the survey went on that please don't count my vote because my husband's on the board. But she said it was very upfront and very honest, and she felt the questions were very down the middle, that it wasn't persuading anyone, it was not negative, it was just, how do you see this? And so she was really, and she's done surveys before, so she was very happy with the content of the survey, the questions. So
yeah, good. That's good to hear. And you know what? We want the most honest read we can get. The way we get paid is if these are successful, right? It's kind of a no-win, no-pay situation. So it does no good for me to come and give a rosy, set of survey results that don't truly reflect what's going on. So if anything, I'd rather be, unrosy, if that's a term, and have kind of a more conservative survey. So I really appreciate that feedback. That means that we're doing it the right way.
Okay. I've got one more question. So is there enough time for us to put this on the ballot and by November of this year?
Easily.
All right, okay.
Easily. Now, having said that, I just committed Barry and some of you board members probably to having these conversations. My side of the ledger, the financial analysis, the tracking poll, the presentation, the legal doc, all that other stuff, I know with certainty that we can pull this together. But don't rely exclusively on me. You really have to have a good pulse of the stakeholders in the community. Frankly, I'll be surprised, I'd be shocked if some of the key community leaders say no, because this is a modest ask. And you do have real needs. They're not debatable. No one can say, you don't really need to make those improvements to pecan or almond. Those are real needs, and it's a modest task, a modest ask. So I'm optimistic that public information program, which is up to you guys, will yield positive feedback over the coming months. But all that other stuff, the lion's share of the stuff, we'll be doing and we could help you with.
All right. Great.
John, will you be sending this updated packet to us?
I'll do it, no problem. Yes.
Thank you, Barry.
Yes.
I already talked to him.
I got it from John this afternoon, and I'll certainly forward it to everybody.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, John. Any other questions from any of the board members?
Nope. I don't have.
John?
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all your feedback and input. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks.
good night.
Thank
All
you.
right, now we're going on to 13.
13G.
Sourcewell.
13G.
G, all right, Sourcewell. This was,
Yes, Randy Horn is going to be our guest from Gordian Sourcewell, and just a little history. Horacio and I learned about Sourcewell, and we had a couple of phone meetings with Sourcewell folks. This was back in, I believe, July, and so what Sourcewell meant to us is it's a company that we can turn to do the bidding process for us, help us with scope of work, and find quality contractors for us to do jobs. And in the process, following all state recommendations related to prevailing wage, DIR, things that by them doing it, it's avoiding tripping hazards and liability on the part of the district. But, yeah, Randy Horn is here today to educate the board, Horacio and I even further on what they do and how it can benefit the district. So Randy, please take it away.
Great, thank you, Barry. Good evening, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to share some information with you. So I'll start here our presentation. Can you see my screen? Okay, great. So just real quick about myself. Again, my name is Randy Horn. I'm a director for Gordian. I've been with the firm now for about 9 years. And 95% of our clients are in the public sector. So again, we specialize in helping public clients and agencies complete their construction projects in an expedited and efficient way. So also like to talk to you about who Sourcewell is, our easy IQC procurement solution, and essentially how we can help you with this project, but also maybe some of your upcoming project needs as well. So quickly, who is Gordian? So Gordian, we have been around for a little more than 30 years now, but our claim to fame is we are the world's leading provider of construction cost data and expertise for all phases of the construction life cycle. As I mentioned earlier, we work with a lot of agencies around the country, but also in California. Some of the largest clients like Sacramento County in the area, Placer County, El Dorado County, I should say, excuse me. They're all current clients of Gordian, and they've been working together for a better part of 10 plus years now as well. Here's just a quick overview of, again, our life cycle support system, starting with planning all the way, including design, procurement, and construction. Tonight, I'd like to talk to you about our procurement solution. It's called Easy IQC, and I'll define what that is as well. And again, please feel free to stop me and ask any questions as we go through the presentation. More than glad to answer any questions you may have. So as I mentioned also, who do we serve? We work with a lot of state, local, and local municipalities, and also special districts like yours. Also, again, higher education agencies, transportation, multifamily housing. We like to pride ourselves believing that we can help any agency with any type of construction project that comes up throughout their based on their needs. So who is Sourcewell? Sourcewell is a leading independent government agency. I like to highlight they are a public agency. They are staffed by public employees. They also have legislation or an authority to facilitate the competitive bid of construction projects throughout the country. And what they do is they facilitate and coordinate this competitive bidding process, and they solicit and award construction contracts pursuant to local prevailing public contract codes as it relates to construction contracts. Some of the legal authority for Sourcewell. Sourcewell is a lead agency, and as I mentioned, they have the ability to establish and hold contracts. Sourcewell actually shares their competitively bid contracts with members based on a government law called Joint Powers Authority. And in California, it's called Government Code 6500. That allows public agencies to share between public agencies. So essentially, it stipulates that what public agency can do, another public agency can share in that bid of the process as well. Like the last point I'd like to highlight is the acceptance and comfort always comes down to the local policy interpretation of Sourcewell's legal authority and the joint powers authorities as well. So how does the program work? Sourcewell will actually go through the process and the administrative burden of actually going through the solicitation process of bidding contracts. So they'll go through and they'll advertise the contracts. They will list them in the local papers. They'll host a pre-bid conference. They'll actually answer any questions the contractors may have. But ultimately, at the end of this competitive process, they will issue and award a series of construction contracts. Obviously, the benefit of this is that to its members, it saves these agencies time and money and the administrative costs of going through the process of bidding contracts out, but essentially allows the members the opportunity to take advantage of this solicitation process. So as you follow the wheel diagram here, the members, in this case, Orangevale Parks Park District, as a member of Sourcewell, you have the legal authority to tap into these group of contracts that have been bid and awarded by Sourcewell. The contracts are actually held by Sourcewell, and essentially there's a legal agreement put in place between the member agency, in this case Orangevale, with the contractor that summarizes the scope of work, the price provisions, and all the detailed scope of work and requirements, legal requirements and liability requirements that your agency requires a contractor to hold and to perform as part of this construction process. So I'd like to stop there. Any questions about this process here?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Just, I do have a quick question on the last point that you just made. Does the district have to provide you with any of those details on what we require for liability or anything like that, or those are already within the contract that we would have with Sourcewell?
Sure. So great question. Sourcewell essentially puts what they call a kind of a baseline minimum of requirements in there from a construction standpoint. But anytime an agency enters into the contract with the contractor, they have the right and opportunity to layer on any special additional requirements, either for a particular type of project or any other requirements that the agency would have. You can overlay that into the particular job order or project level. So in this case here, I believe we're doing a mechanical project or a HVAC repair project. Any requirements would have been baked into the scope of work and also into the contractual requirements with the contractor in your agency as part of this, as part of the contract requirements. Okay. Okay.
I have a quick question, and maybe
Yes.
you mentioned this previously. How are Gordian and Sourcewell connected?
Sure, great question. So Sourcewell, as the public agency, they issued an RFP for what we called indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity construction program management services. Gordian, we were the awarded vendor to help pretty much administer the program. So our role in this is to really help when the members want to take advantage of this program, is to provide the support when it comes to reviewing the proposals, setting up the program. We have a software that we use that creates a proposal and all the related documentation. Our role in this is really to act as an owner's rep or the member's rep as part of this process. Okay, great question. Okay, so the value of a Sourcewell membership, many things. One is there's no cost for members to join. So Orangevale Park District is already a member of Sourcewell. The great thing about this is not only for this program, but there's other opportunities to take advantage of some of the services that Sourcewell offers, whether it's buying copiers, machinery, those kind of things. They've done this for a number of commodities for members like you to take advantage of as well, but there's no additional cost to become part of Sourcewell. As I mentioned, you have an opportunity to choose from over 300 contracts, including this one. One of the biggest advantages is streamlines the procurement process. Again, because this has already been done at a master contract level, it saves agencies time and money and effort to go and bid the individual projects or the contracts because it's already been done. And then last but not least, this process establishes the necessary paper trail. So from an audit standpoint, we provide information on not only the proposal, but also the solicitation process, the contracts, contractor information. All that information has been documented and vetted through Sourcewell, and it's available online and at a moment's notice. Yes, Sharon. Hi.
Yeah, so I guess I'm kind of curious because I'm used to state master service agreements or their CMAS agreements for their leveraged procurements, and so those are handy because then all the agencies have to do is say, hey, you give me a contract and I'm going to use your rates or whatever you bid based on those. Are there any local park districts, Fair Oaks or Sunrise or the county, are they participating in this? Do you have references locally that are doing this?
Yes, we have a few. So Paradise District, we have Arcadia, I believe, park district, excuse me. So we have a host of other park districts around up and down the state that have taken advantage of this program as well. And again, they find it very helpful for, again, the one-off project that comes up from time to time. And they have the ability to pivot to this tool when the need arises. But yes, we do have a few other park districts throughout the state that use this as well.
Reference check with Paradise.
Yeah, Paradise.
But are there any that are closer than Paradise?
I don't think there were any closer. There were some, as you get a little, as I recall, more central in Southern California. But Paradise, I believe, was the closest.
I have a quick question. How do you remedy any kind of conflict or different different points of view between our project manager at the park and your construction management people. How do you work that out?
Yeah, Bear, I can respond to that and you can chime in. So that's a great question. So our process is a very transparent and open process. And so as we go through the scope development of the project and the review of the price proposal, everything is done in a very open book and transparent way. One of the benefits of an IQ model is based on unit prices. And so when we prepare our proposal, it's very clear that outlines each of the individual, what we call them tasks, and the price for that task as it relates to the actual scope of work that's being requested to be done from the contractor. So we'll accumulate all those individual line items that make up the scope of work. And based on the information, we will sit down with Barry and your team, and we have sit down with Barry and your team to review that information and prices in a very open book and transparent way. So there's an opportunity to vet those prices with your project management team and your staff to make sure they're comfortable with the prices based on the scope of work that's being requested to be performed.
Can we pick and choose which projects we want you to handle?
Yes.
Oh, I would hope so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. It's at the discretion of your team, of your agency.
Because
Absolutely.
we have some minor concrete work that's coming up, and I think we were just going to do it we weren't going to do it, but we were going to have local people do it. Because it's under $10,000 or whatever.
Correct.
I'm trying to find in the documentation where if there's no membership cost, where's the fee located? What page of the board packet is, how do we pay you for the service?
Sure. And I can explain that. So our fee, but the fee from Sourcewell, so Gordian is a vendor to Sourcewell, and our fees are tied up with the administration fees of Sourcewell. So the way the program is structured is when you get the price from the contractor and from the proposal, the administration fees of Sourcewell and Gordian are included in that overall cost from the contractor. So the agency is only paying one fee, but that fee is inclusive of the cost from the contractor, plus it includes the administration fee of the program from Sourcewell, which includes Gordian fees as well. So it's one all-in number that makes it part of the overall proposal for you.
And we're relying on you that you got the best value contractor to deliver to us.
What we ensured is that it was a competitive process that was done, and the basis of award was low bid. So Sourcewell ensured that was done as part of that process. So that way, it was done from a competitive process. You got the most competitive price at the time.
Okay.
Do we know of demographics, Randy, of who in our area are local vendors that are a part of your process? I mean, I think it's important for us to keep money local if we can, or at least opportunity.
So, that Lisa? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was Lisa.
Hello, can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Did you need the question repeated?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, please. I'm sorry, I lost you. I had internet issues. I'm sorry.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Randy?
Okay, I'm so sorry. Yes, there you go. I can hear you now.
Okay. So my question is this, because we've always valued ourselves on being able to provide or having at least opportunities for local contractors and businesses. And for me personally, that's a strong value that I hold near and dear. So do we have any idea of in your database or your network if there is, and approximately how many of our local businesses will have the opportunity with Sourcewell?
Sure, I can respond. Yeah, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
No, I can appreciate that, Lisa. So I can reply. So when we bid the contracts, we did them on a regional basis. So the contractors you guys selected, or one of the contracts you selected was from the Sacramento area. However, we do have opportunities at the subcontractor level to integrate local subcontractors and participation at that point. And in fact, we have seen agencies do that. On this one here, I think the scope of the work, I think, was pretty narrow, and I'm not sure, Barry, maybe you could help me on the detail, but I'm not sure on this one if there was any local participation. but we do have opportunities broadly to have local participation based on the project dynamic and at the subcontractor level.
This project was very straightforward. By the way, Board, it has not occurred yet. But it was narrow and there were no subcontractors. But we are as far as the point where the contractor has provided us with a quote, and we haven't gone to the stage of a PO yet.
And
We haven't awarded the job yet.
where is the contractor? Where is he from?
I want to say the contractor was from, I want to say Southern California. At least it was ACCO, at least their headquarters is Southern California.
But if I could also, Barry, they have an office in Sacramento as well. They have a
Great,
local office.
great.
Yeah,
I figured because they were there real quickly, so.
Yeah, they do. They have a presence up and stuff.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me see, get back here.
All right, so.
Okay, so I'll keep going there. So who are social board members? As I mentioned, a lot of state and local agencies, including special and water districts. And we're growing in adoption in terms of, agencies' needs to take advantage of the program on an as-needed basis. So really, if we speak to some of the challenges and pain points we help overcome, it's really related to that procurement piece. Some people help get money. Our primary focus is to help with the procurement of the construction needs as they come up from time to time. The first thing we like to say is really, this program is really just a tool in your toolkit. Obviously, you have all your other options available to you, but having access to a program like this on an as-needed basis, or having the need to pivot to it when the need arises has been really proven to be helpful for a lot of agencies. A lot of agencies deal with a lot of procurement challenges around timing, lack of resources. You mentioned, Lisa, the inclusion requirement issue, but really it's just the time and effort to get a project out on the street. A program like this is really flexible, really responsive to help get those projects done in a really short-term effort. And then also I mentioned, this is really just another tool in your toolkit. It's not meant to replace any of your other construction procurement methods, but really just to serve as another option for you when the need arises on a case-by-case basis. So really easy IQC by definition is really a type of indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract. Think about it, it's really a master contract is what we're looking at, what we're talking about here based on preset prices. But because this program is in place, again, it allows the agencies to do one project, 2, 3, or 4. But the point is, it's really based on guaranteed prices and preset prices. Sharon, like you mentioned, the CMAS model is really based on that model as well. Okay. And then quickly, here's just a quick graphical representation. The umbrella contract has already been done by Sourcewell. And then we start to move forward doing what we call job orders or projects. It really becomes a really helpful tool to respond to those needs when they come up. And the good news is done on a competitive process based on prices that were established at bid time in a very transparent and auditable way. The types of projects that EasyIQ is great for, we call them repairs and renovations. Time-sensitive projects is a really big component that agencies look toward. Emergency work, and then just regular maintenance work like this project here, Barry, the mechanical job is really ideal for EasyIQC. The process, Sharon, I think you answered this question, which is a good one here, is how the price is evaluated. We really do this in a 5-step process. We have the contractor and Gordian will come out to understand the project and do what we call a joint scope meeting. That's where we understand the particular needs of the project or any logistical concerns. Number 2, we put the scope of work down in writing through an RFP. Step 3, the contractor prepares a proposal based on the unit prices of our book. Step 4, Gordian will review the proposal with your project management team and the owner to make sure that it reflects everything you want from your pricing and everything is transparent. And then only step 5 occurs if you agree that the pricing is fair, the subcontractor requirements are there, you're getting the material and equipment specifications you want, and it meets your time element. That's when step 5 occurs, and then the agency would issue a purchase order at that point. Yes,
So
Sharon?
what if we don't agree on all that you did and we want to go look outside of you on our own? Can we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Steps 1 through 4 are done at no cost to the agency. And so we do this in a very transparent way. But we also, I would tell you, step 4, we sit down with the contractor, the Gordian rep, and your team to make sure we can answer any questions there, any concerns about pricing, about scope of work items, about schedule. This is one of the benefits of doing a program like this, though, is that you get a chance to have that open, transparent, and collaborative process that gives you comfort to make sure you're getting the best price for value for the project for your taxpayers.
And then your answer to Mike earlier is we don't have to use you for every type of
Correct.
thing we want to go through. We can pick and choose what we send to you.
Yep, that's correct. Yes. Very flexible. Okay. So this is the summary of the process here. I have a few other slides just get into the details about how the pricing is structured in our book. Good news is that we don't do this in hard copy anymore. It's all electronic, and we have an audit trail on it. This is just another example of how we go through the 5-step process. And then simply, how can Gordian help? We like to, again, talk about, we simplify the procurement process. We provide faster response. We're really proud about that. Proud ourselves on that. We also like to talk about improved quality of work, because ultimately, Sharon, to your point, if we don't do a good job on this project, there's no incentive for the owner to come back for the next to us for the next project. So each and every time you call us out, we want to be fast, we want to be responsive, and we want to make sure we provide the best quality and service so you can come back to the program again and again, hopefully. Okay. And then last but not least, how can Gordian help? Again, we're here to answer any questions you may have and just be part of your team as you look to work on your construction needs. So, any questions I can answer for you?
No, I think we're good. Any other questions from any board members?
Real quick, how do we enter into an agreement with you? Is it a contract basis or MOU or?
Yeah, it was a contract. Yeah, so you can use your standard contract with the contractor, and then we layer on top of that any of your particular terms and conditions. So we default to the agency's agreement, and we use that as the basis for the agreement with the contractor and Sourcewell.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, yeah, because I was looking, is there a motion on this item that we approve using you on an as-needed basis? But I guess we just will get those as-needed items
correct
brought to the board when they need to use you. So, okay.
That's correct.
Okay, I got it.
Randy, I had one question, kind of follow up on what Lisa was asking earlier about local contractors. So if a local contractor, wants to be a part of this bid process, they need to become a member of Sourcewell, correct?
So there's two opportunities. One is whenever the Sourcewell issues a solicitation for new contracts. So for example, we just issued one, I think a month ago. We're going to be issuing new contracts here. So there's an opportunity to be a direct contract holder with Sourcewell at a prime level, right? So that's number one. But then also on a project by project basis, there's an opportunity if a local contractor is not a prime contractor with Sourcewell, there's still an opportunity at the subcontractor level to work with a prime contractor for a particular agency from a local standpoint as well.
Okay. So if we have some local contractors that we know of here in Orangevale, we can encourage them to.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can send that to me. I can talk to them about getting them tied in with Sourcewell as well to look at the opportunities. But yes, I was looking for local good contractors, yes.
Great.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for working late and being with us today.
No worries.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good evening. Okay, take care.
Amy.
Bye-bye.
Okay, I want to take a break.
All right, we'll take
Take
5 minutes, so
Yeah.
it's
Five.
9:48, so let's go to 9:55. That sound right? 8 minutes?
Sounds good.
Yeah, that works. Thanks, Mike.
All right, the board will be taking
I mean, we're going to put that responsibility on us to notify the public. Then the public also has to take some kind of responsibility too of keeping.
And it was in the view as well when we had, when it was coming, so.
Yeah. Oh,
All right,
here we
is
are.
everybody's back?
Yep.
All right. So
Yay.
all right, I'm gonna go bring the Orangevale Recreation Park District meeting back online. I appreciate staff and board members for going through all those presentations. So we're gonna go back to,
So actually, Mike, then what is the next step on those? I mean, is there a future board meeting where we decide?
on what, Sourcewell or?
No, the funding.
Yeah, we need to decide, I'm thinking.
Obviously, we had the presentations this time, so.
Right.
I thought maybe the best approach would be if anybody has any questions. The best approach would be if anybody has any questions for either of those presenters, shoot them to me. I'll get those answered. I was hoping that in February we could move that as an agenda item to discuss and maybe make a recommendation as to which direction we might want to go. Sounds like time's of the essence. And if we want to have a committee meeting, maybe a finance committee meeting, would probably make the most sense between now and then.
So.
Yeah, because I really want, gosh, I almost need, I wonder if our CPA, if we have a finance committee, I want to be able to access Sue Barnes on, we need to look at financially loans versus pay-as-you-go versus a combination between the old assessment and the new one. I really want to, we need a finance committee. I'm open, Barry, I'll be there, but I really need to delve deeply into this to make my own decision.
Sure.
Well, why don't we have on the agenda in February something, we'll figure that out, and then a final decision we probably need to do in March, or if we're going to get another survey, we need to decide that in February, correct?
Yeah, we probably need to agree on a strategy and what our direction's going to be. And even if it is both directions after a survey, we could do that. Maybe, but we're cutting it close by March.
Well, I like what you said about it, and I would like to talk to her or about, because we've got the old lab, which we can, I guess, borrow. I am assuming we can borrow money.
Yeah,
again.
she said we could borrow on part of that or some of that.
Right. I mean, obviously we get what, roughly 500,000, correct?
500,000,
but some of that, a lot of that's already committed, right?
Yeah, there's typically not a lot of carryover
Right.
from one year to another.
Right. We're using a lot of that for maintenance, so.
Yes.
And then what would a new, what I don't know is from what she's shown is what a new assessment in a certain amount would provide us for that, what ISIM shows and what we show on our plans, 17 million. So
Wow.
what would that translate to another assessment? That's
Wow. I was originally thinking assessment, but I'm leaning more towards a geo bond now. It's
that's you, Mike. Not necessarily.
But let's not. We need to have another.
Right. We're not going to vote on that now.
No, we're not going to vote on it now. We need some time to think about it and possibly have a closed session with possible litigation details. So we'll put something on the agenda for February, and then we can make a partial decision then and a final decision in March.
But Barry, just look to me with Erica on a finance committee meeting so we can look at the options and perhaps come up with some pros and cons for each alternative.
All right.
Even though I don't really have time for it, but I'll make time.
Well, let's.
Are we going back to our general business?
Yeah, let's get right on regular business. So we've had public discussion, approval of minutes, 6A for October 14th.
Yes,
I
and
move that we approve the minutes for the regular meeting of October 14th, 2021.
I'll second it, even though I wasn't here, but go ahead. Well, I
How can you do that?
I can second the motion. I can second the
You can
motion.
second the motion, really?
I can second
Yeah.
the motion, I just can't vote on it.
correct.
Correct.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on it?
Nope, none here.
So let's vote.
All in favor? Aye.
Well, two of
As many as possible.
us weren't here.
Yeah, I have to abstain as well.
I have to abstain, so it's Lisa, Sharon, and Manny can vote,
And Manny,
Yep. Aye.
three ayes.
and two abstentions. All right, 6B.
I move that we approve the minutes of the special meeting of December 2nd, 2021.
I'll second that.
All right, so that's on 6B.
Correct.
All right, so a motion and a second, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of December 9th, 2021.
I second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Brunberg was, I have down, I think
Oh.
that
That's
Brunberg
right.
was absent.
Right, that's fine, so it'd be
For
4.
December 9th?
Yeah, that's what it.
Oh, that's right. I had the refrigerator issue.
That's right.
Yes.
Sorry. So I have to
All right, so
abstain.
it's 4-0 with one abstention on that one.
Yep.
Correspondence, 7A, real quickly, Barry?
Great articles, and just shout out to the Orangevale View for giving us such great pub. And the article was also included in the American River Messenger, that one article about the event. And I want to thank Nadia for putting on such a great event, and the rest of the staff, and also for the marketing that goes into the view.
Yeah, no, and the tree looked very lovely.
Yeah, it
which
did.
usually does, but.
I like that article on the tree, too, the history of the tree.
Yeah, I don't know how they make it so symmetrical, but whatever they're doing, it makes it look beautiful.
All right, so then correspondence 6B, plunge. How did it go, by the way?
The plunge.
Did
I'll say
anybody
that
go?
our illustrious leader was out of the water faster than he went in.
All right,
It was great.
great.
It's refreshing.
A little nippy. All
Yes.
right.
Oh, Barry did it. Barry did the play.
I
Yes,
did
he
the
did.
plunge. Horacio did too. And Melissa's daughter,
All right,
yeah. And Manny was there taking pictures.
all right,
Awesome.
all right.
Oh, way to go, team.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason. Great job.
All right, consent calendar. Can I get a motion to,
I move we approve the consent calendar.
I second.
all right, the only thing, we have a motion, second, I'll make a brief. I want everybody to know that the extra 250,000 showed up on that one. It was a good job, surprise, good job, Barry.
Yeah, thank you.
And then the liability insurance jumped up. I had a question, then Barry answered my question. It may go up again. All right, so I have a motion and a second.
Roll call. Erica.
It's a money vote.
Yeah.
Yes.
Swenson, yes. Stickney?
Yes.
Mraz?
Yes.
Brunberg?
Yep, we do.
All right, 500.
All right, Kenneth Groves. Let's see.
Kenneth Brooke was in the consent items, wasn't
Right.
it?
Non-consent
Yeah. So
items.
number 9.
Number 9, non-consent items for November and December.
I move we approve the non-consent matters for November, December.
Can we separate them, or do we have to separate them?
Let's separate them. Let's be
All right.
safe.
Yeah, I think they gotta be separate votes.
For November?
I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion, a second, on the non-consent, item 9A.
Roll call. Swenson, yes. Stickney?
Yes.
Moraz?
Yes.
Bremberg?
Yes.
And Montez?
Abstain?
All right, 4-0 with one abstention.
All right, 9B, ratification of claims for December.
I move we ratify the claims for December.
I'll second.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second, so let's vote.
Second? Or
I'll
Moraz?
second.
Okay. Stickney?
Yes.
Moraz?
Yes.
Bremberg?
Yes.
Montez?
Abstain?
And Swenson, yes. So 4-0, one abstention.
Okay, do we need to go back and do, so the regular claims for December, did December separate them or just?
No, they were all part of the consent, so
Okay,
we're
all
okay
right.
with.
No,
all right, so
yeah,
now we're on
we're
this-
all good. Go on to standing committee report, 10A. Right?
Finance Committee.
Yeah, the Finance Committee met on December 15th, and two main topics that we discussed was the options available to cover the approximate $606,000 for pool improvement costs planned for the next budget cycle. And then we also discussed a timeline for budget preparation for the next fiscal year. And the primary part of this being the pool funding is going to be talked about in a future agenda item, just a little ways from now. So unless Sharon and Eric would like to add anything about this meeting, we'll be talking about it a little bit more later.
So I think,
No, I think it was a good meeting.
Yeah, it was a good meeting.
so
We,
I looked at the cost.
we looked at our options and, what's that, Mike?
Well, I just looked at the bottom line was they thought it was going to be, what, 600,000
Yes.
roughly? But it's probably not going to be that much. And
Yeah,
we have more than enough money available to us.
Yes.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah, we found buckets to draw from. And then it's going to be over 2 fiscal years, right, Barry? I think, by the time all is said and done.
We're going to try to fund this through one
This
fiscal
one
year.
and next one.
Yes.
Some of the stuff didn't have to be fixed until 2023, 24.
Yeah, there were
whatever.
some items that were even further down the road, 5 years or so from now.
And then it all depends on the bid for the crack, whether it's 250 or 450.
Yeah.
And we've got enough money to cover us no matter what.
The only danger, of course, is the unforeseeable. They find something that is totally unexpected.
Right,
All right.
right. We don't want any surprises,
No.
but I think we'll manage.
Yeah, let's not put anything out in the universe.
All right, so then we're on to administrator's report.
Yeah, I'll just hit the highlights. The holiday tree lighting we've talked about. December 14th, myself, Directors Stickney and Moraz visited the City of Citrus Heights to review the plans with Leslie Blomquist, their city engineer,
And
Casey, and
Casey, and then
their
the mayor was there, or?
the
was it
mayor, yes. And Regina Cave was there, but it was productive. They went through pretty much the entire plans with us. Our primary focus, of course, was Sundance and String, and I appreciate our neighbors' concerns, but it was really refreshing for us to meet with the city and get their perspective and their expertise. And I know personally, speaking for myself, I feel very confident in what they're providing and the avenues they're taking to make this a very safe and well-thought-out trail. The total amount of trail that is actually within Orangevale's 2 parks is less than 1/6 of the entire trail. And, of course, most of it is, there's at least as much going through Sunrise and through some mud territory and then county, as well as the school district. So,
I am just so happy to see this actually come to fruition because, as Manny mentioned, 20 years ago, I saw all this mapping and was hoping to see these trails come to fruition. And this is an awesome addition to our trail connection.
No,
There's more to be done, but, I do think that Citrus Heights did their due diligence, and their engineers and Caltrans, I believe in them. And I'm very happy that they have got the grant money to be able to do this. This is just so impressive with the length of trail that this is going to be in our community.
And I guess my frustration is that, that they talk about the bridge, and me and Manny were involved, and we knew that if you do anything, it's going to,
It's going to change the whole process and maybe throw it out.
Right, and
I think it will help ADA, even though there's a gradual, it's going to be
it actually
bystander.
makes the trail through Sundance much better,
Especially the other side of the bridge.
Yeah,
The eastern side of the bridge is going to be not as steep.
Right.
So, but other things that I just want to touch on, December 17th, we received the welcome news about the COVID relief funding that Mike mentioned earlier. And yes, it has been received, which is fantastic news.
Wow.
And then at the end of December, the application was submitted to the state for the per capita grant. And I did get confirmation that they did receive that grant application. And I just want to make a special thanks to Jennifer Von Ash for a lot of help that she provided in making that happen.
And the good news was that we can build the road down there, and then if there's any, I guess we're going to set it up so that we can expand the trail if we want.
Correct. And we're going to get into that a little later in the agenda. So then I'd like to turn... Excuse me?
Sorry.
No problem. I'd like to
Nothing.
turn it over to Jason for the recreation report.
I'll keep it quick. Basically the biggest thing is that I have my graph here showing that it's kind of giving you the whole half-year review, and we've done quite well. We've exceeded our half-year projection, so that's a plus that I have. Otherwise, things are picking up for us here coming into January. Polar Bear Plunge, we had roughly 50 some odd people coming in there, which is not bad for getting back in the swing of things when we didn't have anything. And again, on that, we had Applebee's donating soup for us again, which was very nice.
And I got a question for Jason and maybe Barry. The new variants, is that, we're not sure how that's going to affect us, or if it's going to be a short-term thing, or...
Right. It's impossible to tell, but we've had new guidance come down from CDC, from Department of Public Health, and from Cal OSHA here in the past week. Not much has changed as far as our buildings are still open. As far as staff goes, starting tomorrow officially, we have to wear better quality masks. The gaiters and the cloth masks are no longer allowed. We did purchase a lot of the N95s, so all the staff has those available to them. And yeah, we're going back as far as, okay, reminding about washing hands, keeping distance as much as possible, sanitizing, and making it available for staff to work on special projects at home, certain projects that they can take home with them, to seek supervisor approval to do that, so we can space out a little bit in the office. Also changing... Excuse me, Jason, go ahead.
Oh, no, if you want to finish up, and I'll use my 2 cents on Omicron.
No, I think I pretty much said that. We're good. Go ahead.
I was going to say, pretty much how I see where that's going to, if it's still continuing, as we get closer to summertime, we'll probably see what most other things are seeing right now, where just staff, coming sick, and it's, especially when we have all those part-timers coming in, it's probably more reality that we'll have times where, maybe we don't, say, open the pool on a day that we're supposed to have public because we just don't have enough staff. I would say that would be the potential that we'd have coming from that. And that's kind of what we're talking about in one of my meetings today. That's probably kind of what we have looking forward to, if it's still continuing strong like it is now.
Yeah, good point. You know, with a lot of schools, their teachers are sick and they've got to combine classrooms or start going to a hybrid model. I know of at least one other recreation district in the Sacramento area that has closed their district office and has reverted back to staff working from home because there's been a bit of an outbreak within their district office. So, yeah, it's something we have to keep an eye on. I know with us, we've been overall very fortunate as far as staff goes, not having any kind of an outbreak. We've had at least one staff member with a close contact that we're monitoring, and yeah, so far we're fortunate.
So we're just, and the new rules are only in effect through mid-February?
The new rule with CDC and the county is through mid-February with the option of it extending. The one that came out today from Cal OSHA goes all the way into April.
Okay. So
wasn't the rule that is extended till February the state's mask thing, but the county still was based off numbers of people infected or hospitalizations or something that they were working on. We were looking at a long haul, especially before COVID hit, to have our masks still being worn in Sac County.
So we're not canceling any programs. We're just doing masking and testing.
We don't do testing for programs or in that, but we're just it's kind of let's say middle school sports. We're following a lot like how the schools are, because they do it. If you have something, we have to either shut it down or determine what the exposure was. I mean, we haven't had that really go on yet. We have had problems where we haven't had enough referees, so we had to cancel a whole weekend, and especially with the rise of everything, that was kind of a cautionary. But that's kind of where it is right now. But I mean, I can see it's easy to, in certain locations go bad. I mean, just like my son's school, he had his 8th grade class. He had to stay home all week because he was near someone, and but he's vaccinated. But about 9 kids in one class, 12 in another, and that's what was left at school. Everybody else was at home all week.
But they're reporting a lot of staff, teachers, and students are testing positive in school, so.
Absolutely.
Well, so
Was I supposed to tell anybody that I had COVID? Like, are you guys keeping track of that for board members, or no?
It's you don't have to, but if you do, if anybody has COVID, they're supposed to. If there's any reason for you to be here, a meeting or whatever.
You just did.
Yeah.
I
You did.
You would need to
but
leave.
you did,
I
but you,
didn't infect anybody, so that's why I didn't even think to tell you guys that.
Right.
And to the public. You give your medical history.
So I guess it'll be a week by week.
Yeah, it's going to be a case by, what we want to do is continue to follow the guidance, and if we ever hit a situation where we can't because of COVID cases, we have to shut down programs, then that's what we'll do. But for now, our goal is to keep going forward as long as guidance allows us to.
All right.
all right, what's next on the agenda? Where the heck are we?
We're on still activities.
Oh, yeah, we're going to parks now. I'll let her, unless, Mel and Nadia, do either of you have anything you want to add as far as recreation goes?
Just thanks to the staff for working hard on those events last, December, and yeah, that's about it.
Great, thanks.
All right, so we're on the maintenance part of it?
Yes. Horacio?
I got a couple of questions. The tree planting, are we planning on doing those soon? The trees here at this park?
Yes, we got the trees. That was going to be one of the updates that we still have to contract the grinding of the stumps that we have left over in the planter boxes, but we have the trees, so we can plant them away from the stumps and do that later. So we're going to do it here pretty soon.
Yeah. And the concrete work is...
So by beginning of February, we're going to take care of it.
All right, and then the concrete work is...
What was that, Mike?
the concrete work at near the disc golf area, I guess.
Yeah, we were going to bring that to the board this meeting. We have 2 quotes. We're hoping for a third.
All right, okay.
And we just got somebody new that wanted to be on our bid list, so, and they're contract workers, so we hope to get a third one soon. Bring that to the board in February.
And then the last one, I know we're going to do some work on the disc golf parking lot sign area, but I think it was last Saturday when I drove by, there was a car parked under that oak tree that's right near the sign. I just give you a heads up on that. I don't know if we're going to move it or... I mean, the parking lot was pretty full, and I guess the
I was just gonna... Yeah, they will park. Remember there was a fence in there? And
right.
Yep.
What I was thinking about is doing the same thing as I did to the other one, just put rocks around the area for now.
I just
And
thought I'd
then
give you a
once
heads up. I drove by. I drove by and there was a car right underneath the oak tree. I'm thinking, well, I don't think that was our intent, but all right.
No. Well, when there's no parking, they'll park anywhere they can.
Yeah.
Now they're avoiding the fire lane, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But couple things to mention. One, we were pretty fortunate with the storm. We didn't lose a lot of trees with the rain. We lost a large one over at disc golf, which we're gonna leave in place. Or if we need to move it, just move it a little bit. It's by hole 16 down at the Hazel and Oak area down there. You can almost see it from the road, but we will probably leave it in place. It's actually in a decent place, and have had no complaints from the disc golfers. So
They
that's
like
a good.
when that happens.
Oh yeah, they like obstacles, new obstacles. They seem to like.
Yes, they do.
So the only thing that I'm gonna do, and I looked at it, it's eliminating potential hazards from our end. Cut some of the branches at the end and leave it as is. If we need to move with the tractor, we can always do that. So another quick thing is that I've been working with SMUD in prunings that they have done within our property. This year I had a lot more requests from SMUD contractors on getting into our properties or working adjacent to our properties. And I don't know if anybody noticed, but I work with SMUD and the removal of one tree down at Pecan. It was liquid umber that they were going to top, and they were going to remove quite a bit out of it, and I don't think it would have done us any good. Plus, there was some concrete lifting on the bottom. It was right next to the butterfly garden, so I think it worked out best for SMUD and for us. And that's about it. Any questions?
Thank you. Ooh, that puts us on to 13C.
You're welcome.
That's right, 13C.
All right, anything else on your report?
No, just photos, and the FEC police report was very minor for December. All that rain kept people away.
And then you said you're going to talk to them about, Tom brought up the idea that they're writing.
And I did already. I already brought
And that was in Sundance, or was that?
Sundance, yes.
So do we need to look at the signage again, or?
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt. It is on the sign, but we may want to make something more obvious, but I don't know if they're going to
Just
pay
real
attention.
quick, we do have signage in both entrances. Additionally, there is a couple of neighbors that have been pretty active. Anytime there's a bike in there, they hear the bikes riding in Sundance. They call the sheriff, and they're pretty active.
All right, well, good.
I receive calls when there's activity out there. So I've been also trying to find out where these guys live so we can send the rangers and have a message for them. So But that's what I have to kind of give a little more info on the bikes out there.
So Horacio, do you also know about the encampments that are underneath that bridge that's on, is it on the Sundance side or the Tempo side that there's supposed to be an encampment there on a regular basis?
I looked at, they're on and off, so when sunrise, at times, it doesn't happen that often. I just cleared one tent that was down there, meaning I told them there was no camping, and they moved within a day or two. So there hasn't been a lot of activity. So I haven't seen anything like it was when there was a big issue where there was a lot of activity in the area. So I can say that it hasn't been that way.
So between you and Sunrise, you guys keep it pretty clear?
Yes, and they let me know when they're going to do their cleanups. I communicate with the supervisor that takes responsibility for Temple Park, and he gives me a heads up, and I also let him know when there's activity in our side because they're going to go to their side.
Yeah, that's great that we coordinate that. Thank you, Horacio.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, the time that I toured it with Barry, it looked like there was, maybe somebody was living under there, but there was no people there. There was, I mean, granted, it was just one day, but...
Yeah, there's often evidence that there's been people there.
Yeah, they've been on and off. You can tell that they're some leftovers. We pick them up when we see them, but since underneath the bridge is who knows responsibility. Normally Citrus Heights takes care of that in coordination with us when we let them know as well when there's quite a bit of activity. That's what happened the last time. It was really bad.
All right, so let's see, we did 12,
Yep.
we did 13A, B, now we're on to 13C.
Yeah, C is I'm asking the board to approve a resolution that would move funds from park development fees into our general fund budget to help offset costs for two projects that were unexpected. I did bring this to the board last month as preparation, and it's technically a budget amendment.
Okay, and this is...
I move we approve the resolution 22-01-680, resolution authorizing a 2021-2022 final budget amendment for Fund 332A.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Do we need any further discussion? Okay, well, let's vote.
Moraz,
Yes.
Grunberg,
Yes.
Montez,
Yes.
Wenson, yes. Stickney,
Yes.
5-0-0.
Okay, then we're on...
I have two different documents open up in my window, so they could be different versions. My only question is the page numbers in the agenda aren't matching my page number in the packet.
And that's because of the way it counts on the agenda to the actual document and the PDF.
Yeah, you have to look at the bottom right-hand corner, not at the top of the page.
Not at
The bottom says 76 page was for this resolution, and the agenda item said page 78. So we're off by 2 pages.
Yeah, it's always.
Oh, I think that's 76 to 77, right?
Mine says 77.
Well, it says 76 to 77.
We're on C.
Yeah,
Okay, I might have an old agenda. I didn't know agendas got updated, but okay.
No, I didn't either. I think we just posted one agenda.
All right, we
You
approved resolution 22-01-680, and the numbers matched. It's 15,222 and 18,000.
Yes. Yeah, I'm good with the resolution. Just, yeah.
It's just the way that the pages, destinations are determined when it's on the computer rather than the actual documents that are scanned into the PDFs.
They should match. So somebody needs to explain to me why they don't match, but that could be a later discussion.
Yes.
All right, so,
They would have to scan in the document differently then. That's
all right. Well, let's move along, okay? We're all good?
Yep.
All right,
Okay.
so we've approved.
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, so we're on 13E?
D.
D.
Yeah.
D like a dog?
Yes. Yeah. So here, so we had a planning committee meeting to talk about which pool projects we want to attack with this renovation, and then we had a finance committee meeting to talk about how we're going to fund it. So what I'm asking for now is the board to approve me to take that to Aquatic Design Group as far as the project, the scope of work that we're looking to do, so they can get going on the next phase, which is going to be creating the scope of work and then issuing, having.
So what do you need from
soliciting
us
bids.
to approve it? Just give you direction?
Yes, give me direction, as the motion states, approve me to provide the pool repair list to Aquatic Design Group.
Okay, can I get a motion to,
I move we approve the district administrator provide the pool repair list as recommended by the planning committee to Aquatic Design Group to help us meet the goal of having a pool renovation project by September of 2022.
Second.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
okay, then we'll have a quick discussion. When you finally get, when you finally give them direction, can you bring it back to the board and say, this is what we're going to do?
Yes.
And then my other question was all these things that were supposed to be done in 2 months, are they being worked on?
We made some progress. We did get a quote for the motor, the pump.
As long as they're,
Yes.
well, we can bring it back in March, well, that's
Yep.
fine. I just want to make sure we're,
I do remember you wanted a status report in March.
all right, so we have a motion and a second, and I asked my couple of quick questions, and let's vote. This is just to give you direction. All right?
So we're doing a vote, roll call, or?
All in favor?
All in favor?
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
500.
Right, and when it comes back, when it's actual money, then we'll have an individual vote.
Great.
Okay, so then we're on to D, E, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Approval of agreement with all events management for art in the park. So, can I get a motion?
Okay, I move we approve. Shoot, where's the motion? The agreement with all event management group to hold Art Walk in the Park event in Orangevale Community Park on June 4th, 2022, and authorize the district administrator to execute the agreement.
All right, I'll second it, and then I have a quick question to the applicant. So it says, Percy will be provided scholarships for kids to an art camp. Can we be a little more specific, which schools, or is it just, I'm
It's
directing.
not necessarily art camps or schools. I mean, there's different various programs within the community of art programs available to kids, and some kids can't attend. So we want to make sure and provide some funds for them to do that, whether it's through the park district or Art Box local businesses or different various programs.
I guess I'm looking for a little more detail.
Can't give you that. I don't have that yet. Not even sure.
Is it going to be too?
I'm not sure with it being almost February if we're going to be able to pull that off or not. So.
And I have a question on it kind of cracks me up that, well, you used a picture of the park master plan with pathways for this, and it has a bunch of construction costs in it, which is not obviously part of this project.
What are you referring?
It's page 99 of your contract. It's kind of funny. I think it's an attachment to it.
Oh, I think that's a
I'm looking
different,
at the board packet.
that's a different agenda item.
Oh, it is? Really?
I was like, I didn't include that.
Yeah, that's the,
What?
That's,
What agenda item is that?
that's
That's not
13F.
anything I included.
That's 13F.
Yeah.
13F?
We're just going to be in the front part of the park. It's the walkway like we did with Ballard Days, basically. It's similar to the downtown, if you've ever been to the chalk walk down there.
yeah, no, that part, you know, it's done other places, it's a good idea.
Okay, I thought that was an addition, it was a map of what you guys are planning to do.
No.
Because your proposal doesn't have a map of your walk, like some of the other proposals, but
Yeah,
okay.
I believe the map, that information we're going to be getting from the applicant in May.
Oh, okay, that's a future
Yeah.
component. Okay.
So did we have a motion and?
We had a motion to second, but we haven't voted yet, I don't believe.
Okay. All right, so,
All right,
I'll vote. Ready?
Montez? Oh, are we doing it? It's not money, right? So it's just
It is money.
It is money.
yeah, it is money.
Montez
Abstain.
She has to abstain.
and Swenson. I have to abstain as well. Stickney?
So what, we got 2 abstentions?
Yep.
Yeah. Stickney?
I'll approve it, but I'm a little concerned about the perceived scholarships. I'd like a little more detail later. So I said yes.
Again, we can take proceeds for scholarship out of the contract. Because if I make any proceeds, then I can decide where I can send the money and what kids to give it to. That makes it easier.
I didn't quite hear what she said.
She could take that component out of the contract about scholarships, and then she can take the proceeds after and distribute them the way she would like.
Well, okay.
Yeah, so the contract doesn't have proceeds, so then the motion needs to be to approve the contract without, proceeds for scholarships. So who moved to
It was
approve the
Renberg.
contract? I did, right?
So are you amending it?
Sure.
Okay.
I amend my motion to approve the contract without, how did I say it? I gotta find the.
I think we're all really tired.
I know.
Well, all right.
I already told my husband this is gonna be a long meeting. I said, you're not gonna believe how late we're gonna go. Without, come on, help me, Lisa.
So you want to approve the agreement to host an event on June 4th for all events management group for chalk walk in the park
Well, why don't,
without the terms or conditions of proceeds to be
Provide
Distributed to
distributed for
scholarship.
scholarships.
Okay, that's my motion. Somebody record that.
The contractee can do what she wants with the proceeds.
All right.
So-
Is it?
That's my motion.
All right. Do we have a second?
Now she can go kiss the horse.
No
well,
second.
wait a minute.
We don't have a second? It's gonna lay there?
I'll second that while she's thinking about it. So it's been moved and seconded.
So the motion is, I move that we approve the agreement with all events to hold art in the park, right?
Yes. And just leave it at that.
And June 2nd, and authorize the district administrator to execute the agreement. That's fine.
Yeah,
The way it's written there is fine.
it's fine. Just
All
leave it
this
as
other
is.
stuff about the procedures.
That is exactly how I motioned it the first time.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
No, that was fine. My question, I was just, if you're going to provide scholarships, and I just wanted a little clarification, and
Yeah, because somebody else could come back and question that later.
so
Okay.
that's fine. Do we have a
Okay.
motion and a second? Let's
So are
vote.
we ready to vote?
We got two abstentions,
Okay.
I guess?
Swenson abstain. Stickney?
Yes.
Mraz?
Yes.
Bromberg?
Yes.
Okay.
You should
and
have probably put donations to local art programs rather than scholarships. I think, Mike, that's where
Yeah.
your concern is. The
Yeah,
words.
well, I just,
It's basically, we're just gonna donate some money to kids to enjoy some art activities.
Oh, yeah, there's that new cool thing in Orangevale. What's
There's a
her
lot.
name?
The art
She's
box.
got the art box. Oh my God. How awesome is Orangevale? I can't believe how Orangevale's transformed in the last 5 years.
Yeah, so.
all right. So we're, that one, F?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. F, that's the map.
Yeah, that's the
13F.
map. That's the map.
Oh, okay, the per capita thing. I'm going, what the heck?
That's the-
Okay.
the
I
two-
really just wanted to provide some little more detail as to what we're doing, and so,
This is the $249,000 that we're.
right. Yeah, it's,
200.
the grant is roughly 200,000,
Okay.
and then our match is about 50,000. And, yeah, like Mike was saying, Director Stickney was saying earlier is about, we had to go back and forth with OGALs, with the grants, and as to what qualified and what didn't. But ultimately, what we wanted was approved, and that's having the roadway, and we'll have some money left over for some trail. The condition about the trail, though, is we weren't allowed to let the trail just kind of like end where it didn't make any sense to end. We had to kind of connect it.
So that's all the different colors are?
Yes, so the yellow is what is the trail that we're going to shoot for as far as starting and finishing. And then that will connect basically the upper parking lot here all the way to Shackleton Woods.
And then the red ones are other things that we could do?
Future trail. Right.
If, all right, whatever, we'll just,
Oh, wow, that's what that is. Okay, I just now realized what it represents, sorry.
Yeah, and then the
I
final,
I need to turn my head around.
so the only criteria was that the trail had to have a beginning and an ending. It just
Right.
couldn't be,
yeah, just can't stop in the middle of the field.
all right.
Yeah. And the following two pages just kind of give some financial explanation as to
And
how
so-
we're spending the money here.
And so when we do the contract, we can add these other ones as add-ons if there's money?
If there's money, we can add on to it,
Okay,
yeah.
all right,
But I don't think there's going to be.
all right, whatever.
I think we're going to go over, what did I have here? Over by about, potentially over by 39,000.
That's just for the road?
That's to finish the pathway,
All right, okay,
to connect it to Shackleton Woods.
okay.
And I would propose that we use park development fees for that, if it should happen. And that's also assuming we're going to go with an 8-foot wide DG pathway, where we could go 6 feet, and then it would cost closer to 20,000 instead of 40,000.
All right, well, that's a decision we'll work on later.
Correct.
All right. All right, so we're done with F?
Yep, that was informational.
So G, H.
H, we already talked about the COVID. I don't think we need to go any
Election of
further.
officers.
I'm watching you, Lisa, you're fading fast. I'm pointing at you because you're to the left of me on my video.
Oh. Manny could tell you stories about the old days when we were here till 11.
11,
Every,
sometimes 2.
twice a week.
Twice a week.
Look at, we
Twice
have,
a week.
I'm not sure who Ryan is, but he's hanging in there with us.
Yeah,
Of course,
who's Ryan?
Of course, we were a little younger too, Manny.
Yeah,
All right, so we're on election of officers for 2022, page
Yes.
107.
So we're looking for motions. I don't know if anybody's thought about changing up or liking where you are.
keep me where I'm at. Make it simple.
Keep it where it is that what you're saying, Lisa?
I move we keep it all the same, including committee assignments. Let's just do it again another year.
Yeah, I would say the same thing because last year was kind of strange anyway. Like I didn't, you know what I mean? As far as
Let's take the election of the officers first, and then we'll work on committees second.
Okay.
All right. So everybody wants to keep it the same, or does?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Is that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Is that the
Yeah,
direct?
we're good.
I'm
All right.
good if everybody's
All right.
good.
So let's.
We're making
We
it
need to
easy
vote.
for you, Mike.
So I move Mike is the chairman.
Chairperson, please.
Chairperson. Who's going to second that
So do we have to
motion?
do these all individually?
Yeah, we have to vote on it.
Okay, I'm gonna need to print
So-
over one of these.
I guess the motion is that we keep the officers as the
Yes,
same as the 2021.
yes.
We
So
can
that's
make
the-
that a motion. I move that we leave the officers' positions as the same as 2021 for 2022.
I second that.
All right. All in
Go,
favor?
girl.
Aye.
All right. So it's 5-0. So.
I move
Okay.
that we leave the committees and the committee assignments the same as 2021.
I will meet with Barry next.
No, you don't understand, Mike. We're committed to everybody staying the same. You don't have to meet or determine anything. Lisa is motioning that we stay the same, and I kind of like it. I like Erica with me on fighting man.
It will
I'm
probably,
learning from you.
it will probably stay the same because it's easier that way.
Okay, that's right. That isn't something that we motioned.
However, I would like to propose an ad hoc committee to deal with the trail from Sundance over to the 7-Eleven, and I was going to propose that Manny and Lisa take care of that. Is that all right with you guys?
Fine. It's fine with me. What do you
Works
want?
for me.
It mostly has to work for Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa, it's up to you.
Works for me. I'm good.
All right, so you
So item
guys
K.
will meet with Tom and Peg and somebody from the county that can actually do something.
Okay, I'm open to any dates.
So for that ad hoc committee, one of you would need to be the chair.
You want to, Lisa, you want to be the chair?
Now, why don't we have Manny be the chair? Manny,
Okay,
you
they
be
want
the
me to-
chair,
That's fine.
and that way,
Yeah, I don't think Manny's the chair of any of the other committees, so.
Okay, that's good.
and then you guys work on a date, and probably before February's meeting.
Yes.
That would be my suggestion.
You probably get it soon so they can put it on their calendar.
All right.
And that's not a motion or anything, right?
No.
Nope, that's an ad hoc meeting, so, yep, on to item 13K.
As chairman, I can make ad hoc committees, and that's
There you go.
chairperson.
Yep, great.
That's what I've done. And it'll only be for that particular
Yes.
meeting. All right, so where are we? We're
The last,
13K.
March meeting to the 17th.
yeah, there's a CPRS conference the week of the 10th of March, and a lot of the staff will be attending that conference, and there's usually activities that go on in the evening, so our request is to move the March meeting to the 17th.
All right, it's all right with me. I'm good.
I'm good.
My life easier.
I forgot to look at my calendar. I'm sure I'm good.
It's St.
That's
Patrick's
St.
Day.
Patty's
It
Day.
is St. Patty's Day. Yes,
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
The 17th?
Yeah.
So, let's,
So we'll have to have green beer at our meeting.
sure,
Corned beef and cabbage.
sure, that sounds like a good deal.
Oh, we're getting
Sharon's
tired, aren't
having
we?
trouble staying awake. I don't think.
All right, so
We're definitely getting tired. Oh, okay.
So we're gonna move the meeting, and you send out an email next week
Okay.
to that effect.
All right.
And then also let the public know that we're gonna do that too.
Okay.
Ryan, enjoyed many of the parks with my son for years, so it's an interesting topic. Well, Ryan, we appreciate you hanging in there with us.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yay. He actually commented. He's been in there this whole
Yes.
time.
All right.
Hey, Ryan, we like an audience.
Future.
All right, so does any of the staff have to want to add anything else?
Oh, I thought we had something to add to the agenda, and I'm trying to find it. Our next agenda needs to discuss the strategy for,
I think I already mentioned that we were gonna.
That's good. I'll add that.
yeah, 15 for items for next agenda. Oh my God, we're gonna have that in the audit? Oh, geez. I gotta do that too? You guys are killing me.
You know what?
It won't be as long as tonight's meeting. I will guarantee you.
See, you don't understand. I'm the CPA of the frickin' directors that really scrutinizes the audit because I know what to do.
Well, whatever. You got a whole month to pump up for it.
And I appreciate it, you sharing. You don't even know how much I do.
Oh, me too.
Instead of yours.
All right,
I'm so grateful.
so we've got 4 items for next time, right? We've got Larry Baines, Rotary Club grant, which I'm not sure what that's.
It's going to be brief. It's just a thank you to the Rotary for providing us with funding.
And a resolution for fees.
For fee schedule.
Oh, really? Resolution for fees?
Right.
Can that move out?
And then we've got the
Strategy for
funding
financing.
strategy, which we may or may not have a closed session on, but whatever. We'll talk about that later.
And we're also going to have resolutions for the OLAD and Kenneth Grove. That'll also be a brief.
Yeah.
All right. Any of the board that want to speak?
Nope.
All right, let's get a motion to
No.
adjourn.
I made too many questions already tonight.
Can I just make a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I need a motion for us to adjourn, please.
I second that.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Aye.
Thank you all for staying so late.
Be well. Be safe, everyone.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Only start falling apart at the very end.
Good night.